Chapter 9:17. As Night Sorrow cultivated, the nine-domain world changed again. The recombined parts slowly merged together. Blue, the spacetime pagoda provided Night Sorrow with a huge amount of pure energy, assisting Night Sorrow in his cultivation. However, Night Sorrow did not cultivate endlessly. After cultivating for a few months, Night Sorrow left the spacetime pagoda for a walk. The nine-domain world's origin had already been recombined. The nine-domain world's origin energy body showed Night Sorrow the world from his perspective. Night Sorrow discovered that there were many worlds around the nine-domain world. They were all like bubbles. They were the barriers between the space worlds. Night Sorrow discovered that there were many space worlds around the nine-domain world. The profound mysteries realm, Supreme River Space and Nether realm were closer. The Supreme River Space was the link between the nine-domain world and the profound mysteries realm. There was another huge world above these space worlds. And, all the other is, Steel or Edition, the nine-domain world's origin energy body told Night Sorrow that it was the profound sky world. It was a completely mature world. Space worlds had lifespans and were constantly growing. If they were not damaged or destroyed, their lifespans would be very long. Only a few 100,000 years had passed since the nine-domain world was formed. However, the profound sky world had tens of millions of years of development. Feeling the scene transmitted by the nine-domain world's origin energy body, Night Sorrow felt a strong sense of rejection and disgust towards the profound sky world. He had the urge to kill his way in. It could be said that the profound sky world had always enslaved the nine-domain world. As a life form of the nine-domain world, as the master of the nine-domain world, Night Sorrow felt humiliated. Furthermore, there was the blood feud of the Night family in the profound sky world. I will remember the thoughts of the ancestors. If they dare to come again, I will kill them all. Night Sorrow said with clenched fists. Your current strength is not enough. Do you know what the two people you killed in the space below the nine-domain world were at their peak? They were at the peak of the Saint King realm, half a step into the undying realm. In other words, you can fight against a normal Saint King realm opponent, but you are still lacking against a peak Saint King realm opponent. The nine-domain world's origin energy body said to Night Sorrow. Then I'll work hard. Night Sorrow nodded. Originally, the nine regions origin body didn't know much about this. It was just some general knowledge that he had learned from interacting with Yi Qianhua in the past 10,000 years. My ancestor has regrets in his heart. I will make up for it. Watching my ancestor disappear before my eyes is also my regret. Thinking of Yi Qianhua, Night Sorrow also felt a little emotional. Don't have any regrets in your heart. The clear sky Saint King did not actually disappear. He has already reincarnated. However, this time, his soul was too severely injured. I don't know what level of cultivation he has to reach before he can awaken his memories. The nine-region origin body communicated with Night Sorrow. Hearing this news, Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment because it was very shocking to him. In Night Sorrow's heart, vengeance could be slowly avenged and resolved. Staying alive was the most important thing. In addition, Night Sorrow also knew that if a high-level cultivator had a complete soul and chose to reincarnate, it would be very easy for them to regain their memories. However, if the soul was incomplete, it would be much more difficult. The nine regions origin body told Night Sorrow that Yi Qianhua had his own path and there was no need to look for him. He would definitely awaken his memories. Knowing that Yi Qianhua was still in the world, Night Sorrow felt a lot more at ease. Walking in the nine regions world's camp, Night Sorrow also resolved another worry. The nine regions world's war had been ongoing. As the nine regions world's second strongest force, the assassination hall had not made any moves. This made him feel very uncomfortable. However, at this time, Night Sorrow discovered that there were some people in each camp of the nine regions world. They had connections with each other. After investigating, Night Sorrow confirmed that they were members of the assassination hole. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow smiled. He could understand the situation. The assassination hall was an assassin organization. Naturally, they couldn't reveal their identity. When the 9 regions world needed them, it would be fine as long as they could help. As his soul power enveloped the area, Night Sorrow discovered the leader of the Deathly Division. Night Sorrow was very surprised to see the leader of the assassination hole. It was actually the Yun dynasty's monarch, Yun Tianlong. The main members of the assassination hall, as well as a few elders, were all in the Yun dynasty's camp. Although he had discovered them, Night Sorrow didn't plan to ask. The assassination hall was an assassin organization, but it was not without principles. The price for killing evil people was very low, but the price for killing innocent people was also sky high. Moreover, a good person would not be assassinated for no reason. Furthermore, he had been involved in a dispute. There must be a reason for his existence. Walking out of the 9 regions world's camp, Night Sorrow took the teleportation array and arrived at the Saint Hole. At this time, Night Sorrow's aura was restrained. He was just like an ordinary person. When he walked on the street, people would only think that this youth was very handsome and energetic. In the Saint Hall, Night Sorrow accompanied the children to cultivate. Night Sorrow was very happy. Night Sorrow wasn't good at teaching others to cultivate, but he would share his understanding and cultivation experience with the children. In fact, that was enough. The children in the Saint Hall were very clingy to Night Sorrow. With Night Sorrow around, they were also very enthusiastic about their cultivation. The children are very good. At the very least, their mentality is very healthy. The pain caused by the war no longer exists. They are now adopted by the people of Dongxian City. It can be said that they have their own family, Tai Shu Yen said. Whose idea was this? It's very good, Night Sorrow said with a smile. My idea is not bad. Although the main focus isn't here now, I haven't completely let go of it, Jun Xuanji said as he walked over. Well done. These children need to be nurtured. The war destroyed their past, so give them a perfect future, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow's words were orders. All Tai Shu Yen and Jun Xuanji needed to do was to carry them out. After that, Yi Shang met up with his senior brothers and had a drink together. Others felt pressure in front of Night Sorrow, but Gong Xian, Shi Tianlin, and Mo Chen didn't. First of all, they had a deep relationship with each other. Moreover, they hadn't reached the saint realm yet. They were all at the peak of the 5th stage. They didn't know how strong Night Sorrow was, so they couldn't understand the pressure other saints and sovereigns felt in front of Night Sorrow. 13th Junior Brother, you are too busy. Even if you are the commander of the 9 regions, you don't need to be so busy. You can arrange things and let others do it, Shi Tianlin said. 8th Junior Brother, don't you know 13th Junior Brother? He either doesn't do it or does it well. Without a sense of responsibility, how can he be a commander of the 9 regions? Gong Xian glanced at Shi Tianlin and said. I don't care what kind of commander 13th Junior Brother is. It's just that I haven't drunk with 13th Junior Brother in a long time, and I'm very unhappy, Shi Tianlin said. This is Junior Brother's fault. In the future, I will try my best to find time to drink with senior brothers, Night Sorrow said with a smile. After drinking, Night Sorrow left. He came out to take a breather and walk around. He still had to work hard to cultivate. After sending off Night Sorrow, Gong Xian brought his junior brothers to the martial arts practice field. Gong Xian had a lot of things to take care of. Shi Tianlin and the others still had to guide the children in their cultivation. Eldest senior brother, what is 13th junior brother's cultivation now? It's too frustrating that we can't see it clearly, Mo Chen said when they arrived at the martial arts practice field. You still want to see my Saint Realm cultivation clearly? You can't even see it clearly, Jun Xuanji said as he looked at Imo Qin. You can read Myriad Tao Ascension for free. Chapter 9:18. Haha, there are only a few people who can see the Commander-in-Chief's cultivation. Don't you know that the Commander-in-Chief is the most powerful person in the 9 regions world? Tai Shu Yan looked at Gong Xian and the others and asked. What do you mean by the most powerful person? Don't we have many high-level saints in the 9 regions world camp? Shi Tianlin asked. You're all thinking about the child and don't ask about these things. The Commander-in-Chief is a 9-star saint and his combat strength is the strongest in the 9 regions world camp, including the cultivators of the profound mysteries realm. He even killed the Holy King of the Nether Realm, Jun Xuanji said. Jun Xuanji's words stunned Gong Xian and the others. They had not reached the Venerable Realm and the Saint Realm was even further away. They did not understand the level of the Saint Realm. Knight Sorrow went to Zhuyuan City again. After drinking and chatting with Uncle Niu and the others, he strolled around Zhuyuan City and then saw Qin Qin. Qin Qin opened a small tea house and was the boss. Qin Qin saw Knight Sorrow standing in front of the tea house. Come in and sit down. Seeing Knight Sorrow, Qin Qin was stunned for a moment and then greeted him. Looking at Qin Qin who had a beard, Knight Sorrow was a little surprised because Qin Qin's breath was very stable and he did not seem as excited as when he saw his enemy. Knight Sorrow nodded and walked into the tea house. This is my wife. Come and meet her. This is Knight Sorrow, the deputy master of the Medicine Valley. Qin Qin called to a woman with a child. The woman with the child came over to greet Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow looked at the child, held him for a while, and then handed him to Qin Qin's wife. Fortunately, you're very calm now. This kind of life is actually very suitable for you, Knight Sorrow said. With the 9 regions origin, he could feel that Qin Qin's calmness was not fake. After marrying a wife, especially after having a son, I've gained some insights. I've taken a detour and returned to my original path of life. Marrying a wife, having children, and taking care of my family, this is my life. Qin Qin nodded. If there is no hatred in your heart, life will naturally be easy. Seeing you like this, I am still very happy, whether you believe it or not, Knight Sorrow said. Of course I believe you. I know you quite well. When you see Father Gu, please apologize on my behalf. I was blinded by greed back then. Qin Qin sighed and said. I'll leave this matter to you. When old Gu's father comes back, apologize. You'll feel at ease. Let bygones be bygones. Knight Sorrow stood up after saying that. Walking out of Qin Qin's tea house, Knight Sorrow felt much better. Qin Qin's current situation was actually the best ending. I don't want to be called Qin Yun. It doesn't sound good. My name is Qian Hua. The child held by Qin Qin shouted. 8 others are all pirated. This shout made Yi Shang stop in his tracks. Yi Shang was deeply moved by the name of Qian Hua. Knight Sorrow entered the tea house again. Qin Qin, when this child grows up, send him to Medicine Valley or Dongxian City. He should have a different life. I don't want him to become a cultivator. Just be an ordinary person. Qin Qin shook his head. No, you don't understand. He's not destined to be an ordinary person. In a few years, I'll send someone to pick him up. Knight Sorrow said and then left Qin Qin's tea house. At this time, he was almost certain of one thing, that the child was not ordinary. Looking at Knight Sorrow's back as he walked on the street, Qin Qin fell into deep thought. Knight Sorrow's words conflicted greatly with his original decision, but he understood that as long as Knight Sorrow supported him, the child would indeed have a different life. Gong Xian and the others had been teaching the child and did not know much about some things, but Qin Qin knew a lot. He ran a tea house and many cultivators came to the tea house every day. The cultivators talked, and most of the time, they talked about Night Sorrow, so Chen Chen knew about Night Sorrow's current identity and status. Night Sorrow walked on the street, the child's figure still in his mind. You still found out. The voice of the 9 domains origin body sounded in Night Sorrow's mind. It seems that my judgment was right. Night Sorrow communicated with the 9 domains origin body. The 9 domains origin body did not speak again. After returning to the spatial passage, Night Sorrow went to Yi Wuyo and his wife's tent. Son, you're back after a round. Yu Qing nodded to her son and got up to make tea. Father, I have something that I need Night Moon to do, Night Sorrow said. Okay, go ahead. Yi Wuyo nodded. Send 2 Night Moon's venerables to Zhuyuan City to protect a family named Xin Qin, especially the child and their family. This is very important to our Night Moon dynasty. There must be no mistakes, Night Sorrow said. Chen Chen, isn't he the one who harmed you? Yu Qing was stunned for a moment and said. Why are you saying so much? There must be a reason for our son to do this. Yi Wuyo glanced at his wife and said. Father, Mother, this matter is very important. I have a reason for making this arrangement. Night Sorrow said. As for the reason, he did not want to say it. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing nodded. Yu Qing was surprised to hear Chen Chen's name, but then she understood that Night Sorrow would not make such arrangements for no reason. After drinking tea with his parents and chatting with Wu Lingfei for a while, Night Sorrow passed through the spatial passage and checked the situation outside the array. Nine Dark King was still cultivating in the tent. This let Night Sorrow know that the tent's atmosphere was still in the nether realm. They did not dare to relax. While Night Sorrow was investigating, Nine Dark King also opened her eyes. She was now in the Saint King realm and was very sensitive to auras. She could naturally sense Night Sorrow's investigation. When Nine Dark King walked out of the command tent, Night Sorrow had already left the array. Nine Dark King, what's going on? 8 Hell Kings and 7 Fiends King came to Nine Dark King's side. 9 Domain Commander Night Sorrow just appeared. He's already a 9-star saint and his aura is very strong. When he was an 8-star saint, he was not at a disadvantage when fighting this king. Now that he's a 9-star saint, why didn't he fight? Nine Dark King asked. That's not a good thing. He's not in a hurry and isn't afraid of stalling for time. That means he's certain that there's something we don't know, 8 Hell King said. Yes, he's a cultivation genius. He's already a 9-star saint, but there's still room for improvement. That's why he chose to fight in his strongest state for a short period of time. Moreover, he's certain that his improvement will be greater than this king's. Nine Dark King narrowed his eyes as he looked at the array at the spatial passage. 8 Hell Kings and 7 Fiends King were also somewhat helpless. The situation was too passive. The 9 Domain World side had taken the initiative with just one array. This king can't break the array either. It's a combination of 2 Grandmaster composite arrays. This king can break one of them, but this king has searched through all the ancient records on array formations. There's no record of it, said Nine Dark King. But if we don't solve the array formation, we'll always be passive, said 7 Fiends King. Try the violent godworm. See if it can blow up the array formation, said 8 Hell King. That'll also cause us great damage, said 7 Fiends King. If we break the array, Nine Dark King will be able to kill them all and change the situation. We'll have to endure the losses, said 8 Hell King. Download Myriad DAOs Become Gods for free. Chapter 919. The violent godworm was a very domineering creature in the nether realm. Other creatures had to avoid it because it had an unyielding temperament. It would drill into the body of other creatures and devour their blood essence. After devouring, it would self-destruct. It was very powerful. Blue, let's do it this way. 7 Fiends King, go to the army and find 50 high-level venerables to bring back the violent god worms. 9 King thought for a moment and said, 50 venerables, but we will lose the foundation of the nether realm. 7 Fiends King hesitated. There's no other way. This king doesn't want to see such a loss. But if we don't deal with this formation, we will become more and more passive. Also, we can't be sure if the bottleneck of the Saint King realm will be blocked by Night Sorrow. This king's bone age is only a little over 30. This is too terrifying. 9 King said. 7 Fiends King nodded and went to make the arrangements. After everything was settled, Night Sorrow returned to the space-time pagoda to cultivate. Everything in the 9 regions world was proceeding in an orderly manner. Yi Wuyo arranged for 2 venerables of Night Moon to go to Zhuyuan City to protect Qin Chen's family. In fact, the Medicine Valley was very harmonious now. Generally, there were very few conflicts between cultivators. Night Sorrow made such arrangements because he was worried that something might go wrong. As time passed, Night Sorrow's cultivation increased steadily. The heavenly fate Pearl of Nihility had evolved into the 9 regions origin pearl, which was compatible with Night Sorrow's life source. It gave him some insights and improved his state of mind a lot. On this day, Yun Tianlong, Long Xianxing, and the others were drinking tea in the command tent of the Nether Realm at the entrance of the space passage. Then, there was a series of explosions in the formation. Then, the formation began to loosen. The formation is about to be broken. Inform the commander. Everyone else, retreat to the entrance of the space passage. Long Xianxing looked at the unstable formation and shouted. Yun Tianlong was the deputy commander. He had Night Sorrow's communication crystal in his hand. He directly crushed it and then led some people stationed at the entrance of the space passage to the Supreme River space. Sensing that the communication crystal had cracked, Night Sorrow, who had already cultivated to mid-9-star saint, flashed out of the space-time pagoda. Commander, the array outside the spatial passageway is loosening. It's about to be broken. Yun Tianlong reported the situation when he saw Night Sorrow appear. It doesn't matter if it's broken. Everyone within 10 miles of the spatial tunnel, retreat 10 miles away. Then, attack that ancient tree and activate the second formation. Night Sorrow instructed as he entered the spatial passageway and arrived at the Netherworld. He wanted to see how the Heavenly Cycle Grand Array and the 1000 Derivation Illusory Formation were broken. Night Sorrow arrived in front of the array formation, and it just so happened to be the Netherworld realm. In the end, the 5 supremacies whose bodies were filled with violent divine worms charged into the array formation and self-destructed. Too strong. Night Sorrow couldn't help but say that the self-destruction of these supremacies from the Netherworld realm was too violent. The array formation had already been destroyed. The main thing was that they didn't give the array foundation spirit stone enough time to maintain the stability of the array formation. Since the array formation had already been broken, Night Sorrow didn't hesitate and directly left the spatial passageway. He had to stabilize the situation first. Besides, it didn't matter to him if the array formation was broken. As long as the 9 Dark King and the others entered the Supreme River space, it was equivalent to entering his home ground. At this time, Yun Tianlong had already activated the 1000 Derivation Killing Array. Everyone was stationed outside the array formation. Long Xianxing, Sky Underworld Saint, Shang Luo, and Xia Lanjun stood in front of the array formation. Xian Wenxiu stayed in the Saint Hall and didn't come over. However, someone had already informed him. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with this reaction speed. He then returned to the spatial passageway to check on the situation. When Night Sorrow returned to the spatial passageway, the 9 Dark King and the others had already led their people through the array formation and were approaching the spatial passageway. Seeing Night Sorrow appear, the Nine Dark King waved his battle blade and charged towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow didn't fight and directly retreated into the spatial passageway. He wanted to see what kind of methods the other party had to send supremacies to self-destruct the 1,000 derivation killing array. In the netherworld realm, if those supremacies wanted to self-destruct, Night Sorrow really couldn't do anything. Because the laws of the netherworld realm rejected him, he didn't have any good methods. However, it was different in the Supreme River space. After Night Sorrow took away a strand of the origin chi of the Supreme River space, this place was completely a subsidiary space of the 9-domain world. It was Night Sorrow's home ground. Night Sorrow was the ruler of the 9-domain world. In addition to his strength as a 9-star saint, it was very easy for him to suppress supremacies. The supremacies didn't even have the chance to self-destruct. Moreover, Night Sorrow knew that the netherworld realm was the one who was anxious. This was because the netherworld realm was worried that Night Sorrow would continue to set up the array formation and cancel out the effects of their array formation. More seeing Night Sorrow retreat, Dark King Nine didn't lead her people to attack. This was because she knew that Night Sorrow was proficient in battle planning. It was impossible that he didn't have a backup plan just because one array formation was broken. Everyone else, stabilize the camp. 8 Hell Kings, 7 Fiend King, and this king will go in and kill, Dark King Nine shouted. Although she was worried about an ambush, Dark King Nine had to disrupt Night Sorrow's formation. She was afraid that Night Sorrow would continue to set up the array formation. In addition, she was a Saint King. She wasn't afraid of some dangers that targeted her. Even if there was an array formation, she could still retreat carefully. When Dark King Nine rushed to the spatial passageway, her body was greatly obstructed. It could even be said that 8 Hell Kings and 7 Fiend King couldn't charge forward. Dark King Nine waved her sleeve and wrapped the two of them into the spatial passageway. After rushing out of the spatial passageway and seeing Night Sorrow, Dark King Nine shouted to 8 Hell Kings and 7 Fiend King, block the others and buy some time for this king. After giving the order, Dark King Nine's body flashed. Her original body and avatar charged towards Night Sorrow. She now felt that Night Sorrow was a threat. Getting rid of Night Sorrow was the most important thing. The energy in Night Sorrow's body surged. His avatar holding the space-splitting spear also appeared beside him. The 8-dragon cauldron was already protecting the avatar. Night Sorrow knew that this would be the strongest battle in his cultivation life. At this time, Dark King Nine's cultivation was close to the peak of 1-star Saint King late stage. The avatar had 70% of the original body's strength. That was also very terrifying. When Long Xianxing and the others were about to support Night Sorrow, 8 Hell Kings and 7 Fiend King also moved. The energy in 8 Hell King's body surged. The ancient hell tree with a human face appeared. That was his original body. Then, he and 7 Fiend King blocked Long Xianxing and the others. Seeing that the netherworld ancient tree was releasing the netherworld poison gas, Long Xianxing immediately used his chaotic space. 8 Hell King's original body's movement speed was slow. Thus, he was trapped by Long Xianxing's chaotic space. Sky Underworld Saint fought with 7 Fiend King. Shang Luo and Xiao Longjun suppressed 8 Hell King's avatar. Sky Underworld Saint's strength was slightly weaker than 7 Fiend King. Although he was suppressed by 7 Fiend King, he would not be defeated in a short period of time. However, 8 Hell King's avatar was in danger. His avatar only had 70% of the original body's strength. Being attacked by Shang Luo and Xiao Longjun together, he was immediately in danger. Night Sorrow brought his avatar and fought with 9 King's original body and avatar. As the battle started, 9 King's face turned ugly. Download of Myriad Dao Ascension for free. Chapter 920. As soon as the battle started, Dark Monarch 9 felt suppressed. It was the suppression of the space origin energy, which made her very uncomfortable. Her strength was also suppressed by 20%. Night Sorrow's clone had 90% of his strength. In addition, he had the mid-grade sacred treasure, the Dragon Cauldron, and the high-grade sacred treasure, the Space Splitter Spear, which had extremely strong attack power. He directly suppressed Dark Monarch 9 Yin's soul clone. As for the battle between the main body, Dark Monarch 9 Yin was also at a disadvantage. Night Sorrow could control the laws of heaven and earth to suppress her, making her unable to use her strength. On the other hand, Night Sorrow's speed had reached an extreme level. The 9-domain origin pearl in Night Sorrow's spirit sea contained the Supreme River Space origin energy. Therefore, the Supreme River Space was compatible with him. The resistance of Night Sorrow's body was much smaller. Dark Monarch 9 roared as she was continuously sent flying by Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. You're really ruthless to be recognized by the Supreme River Space origin. Don't talk about this. It's meaningless. Today, let's settle this between the 9-domain world and the netherworld realm. Night Sorrow kept attacking with his spear, suppressing Dark Monarch 9 step by step. As the battle continued, the sound of energy colliding continuously rang out. Dark Monarch 9 became more and more passive. Her cultivation was profound, and her true energy was much more vigorous than Night Sorrow's. However, Night Sorrow's body was tyrannical. His body alone was comparable to a peak saint. When his true energy and body energy combined, Dark Monarch 9 was no match for him. Dark Monarch 9 did not want to be at a disadvantage in a head-on clash. However, she was not as fast as Night Sorrow. If she did not fight head-on, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear would make countless holes in her body. At this moment, outside the 1000 amplification killing array, Xian Wenxiu was anxiously pacing back and forth. Besides Night Sorrow, no one else could enter the 1000 amplification killing array. Xian Wenxiu had rushed over, but he could not help. Just as Xian Wenxiu was getting anxious, Night Sorrow's voice sounded, "Sage Xian, follow the energy fluctuations of the array and move forward." 9 Dark King couldn't know what was going on behind the array, but Night Sorrow could. When Xian Wenxiu arrived at Night Sorrow, Xian Wenxiu had already known. Therefore, 9 Dark King guided Xian Wenxiu through sound transmission while controlling the array's energy fluctuation with his soul power. Seeing Xian Wenxiu rushing towards him, Night Sorrow shouted, "Cooperate with Long Xianqing and kill the opponent." Whether it was Night Sorrow's original body or his doppelganger, they both had the upper hand. Even if he was at a disadvantage, Xian Wenxiu would not be of much help. On the other hand, if Xian Wenxiu was attacked by the 9 Pluto, he would be in trouble. At this time, Xian Wenxiu also understood the situation and took on Heavenly Underworld Saint's opponent, 7 Fiends King. Heavenly Underworld Saint went to Long Xuanqing's side and continuously shot out sword qi into the chaotic space, attacking the Netherworld ancient tree that had fused with Hell King's true body. With the addition of Xian Wenxiu, the various groups of the 9 regions world had the absolute upper hand. Victory was only a matter of time. Hell King's original body was getting weaker and weaker. After being attacked by Long Xuanqing's chaotic space, his energy was greatly depleted. Coupled with Heavenly Underworld Saint's sword qi attacks, he could not hold on any longer. He constantly let out terrifying roars and struggled violently. However, he was still unable to break free from Long Xuanqing's chaotic space control. Hell King's doppelganger was also injured. Shang Luo and Xia Longjun attacked together, and his doppelganger, which only had 70% of his original body strength, could not hold on any longer. 9 Pluto's original body was slightly better. Although he was in a sorry state, he could still protect himself temporarily. However, his doppelganger could not. 9 Pluto's original body was not as strong as Night Sorrow's original body, but the difference was not huge. However, her doppelganger only had 70% of the original body's strength, while Night Sorrow's doppelganger had 90% of the original body's strength. The difference was very obvious. In addition, Night Sorrow's doppelganger had two saint treasures. With the dragon cauldron's protection, he did not need to worry about defense. Her doppelganger could not hold on any longer and was about to be killed. This made Nine Pluto's original body anxious. She wanted to help her doppelganger. Even if it was a 2-on-2 battle, she was willing to help. However, this was only her wishful thinking. Night Sorrow's innate bloodline energy shield was constantly slicing through space. Its speed had reached a limit, suppressing her original body. She did not have the chance to help her doppelganger. After suppressing Nine Pluto's original body, Night Sorrow's original body and doppelganger executed the soul-extinguishing slash at the same time, killing towards Nine Pluto's doppelganger. First kill Nine Pluto's doppelganger, then kill the original body. This was Night Sorrow's tactic. After destroying Nine Pluto's doppelganger, the doppelganger would come over to help, and it would be much easier to kill Nine Pluto's original body. Nine Pluto's doppelganger dodged Night Sorrow's doppelganger's soul-extinguishing slash. However, Night Sorrow's original body used the soul-extinguishing slash to cut into his divine sea. Nine Pluto's doppelganger's divine sea was attacked. When he retreated to avoid Night Sorrow's doppelganger's attack, he used Netherworld Energy Explosion. This was an attack that consumed a lot of energy. However, Night Sorrow's doppelganger, who had the Dragon Cauldron's protection, did not care about this. He charged forward, enduring the two explosions, and stabbed the Space Splitter spear into Nine Pluto's doppelganger's chest. After severely injuring Nine Pluto's doppelganger, Night Sorrow's doppelganger rushed forward, not giving Nine Pluto's doppelganger a chance to escape. Then, the Space Splitter spear continued to vibrate, destroying the inside of Nine Pluto's doppelganger. When Nine Pluto's doppelganger's insides were destroyed, its energy could not keep up. When its combat power dropped, Night Sorrow's doppelganger swung the Space Splitter spear again, cutting off Nine Pluto's doppelganger's head and killing it. Damn it! This king will definitely kill you. I'll grind your bones to dust. Nine Pluto's eyes were bloodshot now that her doppelganger had been destroyed. She desperately fought Night Sorrow, but she was still at a disadvantage. First attack. At this time, Night Sorrow's doppelganger also charged over. He wanted to help his original body kill Nine Pluto. Explode. Nine Pluto saw Night Sorrow's doppelganger charge over. She waved her golden sleeve, and corpses wearing blood-red battle robes appeared one after another. These corpses flew toward Night Sorrow's original body and doppelganger. Furthermore, they self-destructed one after another. The power of their self-destruction was extremely strong. Night Sorrow's original body and doppelganger couldn't withstand such a powerful self-destruction. This gave Nine Pluto an opportunity. Her body flashed as she flew toward the spatial channel. At the same time, she continuously threw out these blood-red battle-robed corpses. These corpses could fight and self-destruct. They blocked Night Sorrow's path. This was Nine Pluto's life-saving trump card, the Blood Map Corpse King. It was refined using the Blood Map's secret codex. It was extremely powerful. Sorrow dodged the Blood Map Corpse King's attacks and self-destruction as he chased after the spatial tunnel. He didn't want to let Dark Monarch Nine escape. As long as he killed Dark Monarch Nine, the war of the two worlds would be over. Night Sorrow chased out of the spatial channel. What welcomed Night Sorrow was the self-destruction of the Blood Map Death Guards. More than 20 Blood Map Death Guards blocked the spatial channel and self-destructed at the same time. Nine Pluto had charged through the spatial channel and entered the Netherrealm's camp. She had used her energy to wrap the Blood Map Death Guards and send them over. She was now asking for a chance to live. Speak. Chapter 921. This wave of explosion was very intense. When Night Sorrow dodged, Nine Dark King rushed past the Netherworld army. Everyone, return to the Netherworld. Run. Under the influence of the fleeing figures of the Netherworld army, Nine Dark King's fleeing figure was not that obvious. Standing in front of the command tent of the Netherworld army, Night Sorrow scanned his surroundings but did not see Nine Dark King's figure. Night Sorrow knew that this was a mistake in his arrangements. He should have set up an ambush at the entrance of the spatial tunnel to prevent Nine Dark King from escaping. Night Sorrow did not kill the fleeing Netherworld army because there was no need. Other than Nine Dark King, no one else could change the situation of the Netherworld army. After taking another glance, Night Sorrow returned to the entrance of the spatial tunnel. He then left his soul avatar to block the path while he charged towards Seven Fiends King. Prison King's original body and soul avatar could not hold on any longer. It would only take a moment for them to be killed. Only Seven Fiends King was still jumping around happily. Once Night Sorrow used his law suppression, Seven Fiends King could not hold on any longer. Night Sorrow blasted his spear twice and sent his weapon flying. Then, the reincarnation spear pierced Seven Fiends King's chest. The energy emitted by the reincarnation spear directly blasted into his spirit sea, interrupting Seven Fiends King's self-destruction. Then, Night Sorrow's right arm shook and the reincarnation spear pierced Seven Fiends King's head once more. At this time, Shang Luo and Xia Lanjun also finished off Prison King's soul avatar. You guys are ruthless enough. However, Nine Dark King's strength will increase very soon. Just wait for your deaths. Prison King's aura weakened after being killed by Long Xuanqing's chaotic space and attacked by the heavenly underworld sword Qi. He would not be able to hold on for long. Once her strength increases, we will just wait for our deaths. You are thinking too much. Go and die. Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and followed up with a void extreme kill. He passed through Long Xuanqing's chaotic space and directly stabbed the face of the Netherworld ancient tree. After being struck by Night Sorrow's spear, the Hell King let out a blood-curdling scream. Not only had Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear destroyed a part of his body, but it had also attacked his soul. When his soul was attacked, the Prison King's defense dropped, and a part of his body was destroyed by Long Xuanqing's chaotic space. Our look at the original chapter, however, Night Sorrow wasn't done with just one shot. He shook his right arm and fired 3 consecutive shots. After fusing with the ancient Netherworld tree, the Hell King's physical defense was very high, but his soul was still at its original level. After being stabbed 3 times by Night Sorrow, his soul was destroyed. With its soul destroyed, the body of the ancient Netherworld tree was naturally destroyed by Long Xuanqing's chaotic space. Commander, let's kill our way over, Long Xuanqing said. There's no need to rush this matter. We need to sit down and discuss it. Night Sorrow went over and stopped the 1,000 multiplication killing formation. Leaving his soul avatar at the entrance of the spatial tunnel to observe the situation, Night Sorrow led everyone into the command tent. Commander, what's the current situation? Yun Tianlong asked. The only Nether King left in the Nether realm is the Nine Nether King. Today, I killed her soul avatar, but her main body escaped. The Hell King's main body and avatar are both dead, and the Seven Fiend King's soul avatar was destroyed last time. This time, it was the main body that was destroyed. There's no doubt about that, said Night Sorrow. That means we can occupy the Nether realm, said Xia Lanjun somewhat happily. Night Sorrow pondered but didn't say anything. He still had some misgivings in his heart. Commander, just give the order. We'll kill our way in and directly occupy the Nether realm, said Jun Xuanji. Then let me ask you something. If we take over the Nether realm and the Nine Nether King comes out to kill us, who can stop a late-stage 1-star Saint King? how many people do we have for her to assassinate us? So let's not talk about taking over the nether realm for now. Yishang glanced at Jun Xuanji and voiced his concerns. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, no one in the command tent said anything. That was because Night Sorrow's words were true. If the 9 regions world occupied the nether realm, then the problem of the 9 Nether King would not be solved. The higher-ups of the 9 regions world would not be enough for the 9 Nether King to kill. Our original intention was to resolve the crisis of the Nether Realm's attack on the 9 regions world. Now that the crisis has been completely resolved, the next step is to deal with the aftermath. I don't want to be stuck in a quagmire after resolving this problem, said Night Sorrow after thinking for a moment. That's indeed the case. The war can be said to have been won, but we have to be careful when dealing with the aftermath. Xian Wenqiu nodded. Commander, what do you think? Xiao Lanjun looked at Night Sorrow. Activate the Grand Cycle Formation and the 1000 Derivation Illusory Formation. After everyone leaves, I'll activate the 1000 Derivation Killing Formation as well. First, we'll set up a defense. Then, we'll send our people back to recuperate. After cultivating for a while, I'll go to the Nether Realm. I definitely have to deal with this 9 Nether King, said Night Sorrow. Then don't go. It's too dangerous, said Tai Shu Yen. The 9 regions world's laws still need time to develop. During this time, the 9 Nether King will be in great danger. It won't be easy for her to kill me. Right now, I have a soul clone to assist me in battle. Her soul clone has been destroyed, so the gap between us has widened, said Night Sorrow. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. That was because Night Sorrow's combat power had already surpassed the 9 Nether Kings. Even if Night Sorrow appeared in the Nether Realm, the 9 Nether King might not dare to appear. Then, Xian Wenqiu placed the storage ring and long sword of the 7 Fiends King in front of Night Sorrow. What are you doing? I just added a few more moves. Night Sorrow shook his head. If you don't support the 9 Nether King, we won't have a chance to win. If you don't help, it'll be difficult for me to kill him. My old face isn't that thick. Besides, setting up the formation requires a lot of spirit stones. The consumption of the commander is also relatively large. Xian Wenqiu smiled and insisted on his opinion. Long Xianqing also took out the Prison King's storage ring. Although everyone killed the Prison King together, the main credit was given to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow thought for a moment. He knew that Long Xianqing and Xian Wenqiu wouldn't accept the battle resources. So, he gave the storage ring to Tai Shu Yen and said, "Give me some high-grade spirit stones later. The rest will be used to fill up the storage of the commander's residence." Tai Shu Yen thought for a moment and nodded. Then, everyone dispersed. They all had things to do, such as withdrawing their troops and many other things. After leaving the commander's tent, Night Sorrow called out to Yun Tianlong and brought him through the space passage. "Commander, is this damaged formation easy to repair?" Yun Tianlong asked as he looked at Night Sorrow inspecting the damaged formation. "It's nothing much. An area was shattered. Repairing it will just consume some spirit stones." Night Sorrow inspected the formation while starting to repair it. Yun Tianlong followed beside Night Sorrow and also looked at the surrounding situation. After a moment, Tai Shu Yen gave Night Sorrow a storage ring because Night Sorrow used his own spirit stones to set up the formation. After delivering the storage ring, Tai Shu Yen went back. She was relatively busy. "King Yun, when the assassination hall accepts a mission, if the target's virtue is not lacking, then don't accept it. Otherwise, it will hurt the assassination hall's luck, and there won't be any benefits," Night Sorrow said while setting up the formation. Speak. Chapter 922. Oh. Commander, you know about it. Yun Tianlong looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. Q** original initials. Z**, yes. I've been thinking about this for a while. Although they exist for a reason, it's not appropriate to assassinate people without morals, said Night Sorrow. Subordinate understands. When I return, I'll talk to the elders about this. I hope Commander won't reject the assassination hole. Yun Tianlong cupped his fists towards Night Sorrow. Previously, I did have a problem with the assassination hole. As the second largest force in the 9 regions world, they didn't stand up when the 9 regions world needed them. But after I learned about it, I felt relieved. I don't reject them. Night Sorrow shook his head. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yun Tianlong let out a sigh of relief. Although the assassination hall can't be exposed, they still have a bottom line. This king will emphasize it again when we return. Night Sorrow nodded. He had brought Yun Tianlong over just to remind him of this matter. After 2 hours, Night Sorrow activated the array, once again cutting off the path from the nether realm to the supreme river space. Clapping his hands, Night Sorrow returned to the spatial channel. The people in the command tent were still there. Everyone had already given their orders. Has the array been repaired? Asked Wu Lingfei. It's been repaired. Unless the nether realm explodes a few dozen more venerables, they won't be able to enter the supreme river space, said Night Sorrow. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. This was the result they wanted. Commander, what do you plan to do next? Asked Xiaolongjun. Don't worry about what's going on here. Those who should return, return. Those who should cultivate, go cultivate. All the saints should leave their messaging crystals in the commander's residence. Someone must be on duty at all times. The operations of the 9 domain worlds and the profound mysteries realm must be managed by someone. There can't be any chaos, Yi Shan said. It was also an order. Everyone bowed. They all knew that this would be a period of stability. Of course, it could also be the calm before the storm. Commander, we've obtained a lot of saint crystals from our battles, what should we do with them? Lu Qin asked. Give it to the venerables with the highest cultivation and distribute it according to their attributes. Don't hoard the weapons we obtained. Distribute them to increase the overall strength of our 2 worlds. Those who contribute to the war will have priority. Night Sorrow looked at Lu Qin and said. He knew that Lu Qin was the vice hall leader of the assassination hall, but he didn't mind. After Night Sorrow gave the order, he went to the god-slaying team's campsite to have a drink with the people close to him. The others had already retreated. Captain, if you want to go to the nether realm, then bring us along. During this period of time, everyone should work hard to cultivate. We need to accumulate some experience through actual combat. We also need to accumulate some resources for our god-slaying team, said Nan Liyue. She was now a 3rd-level venerable. After entering the space-time treasure pagoda to speed up time cultivation, the cultivation of the members of the god-slaying team increased very quickly. More than half of them were already supremacies. Father will accompany you, Yi Wuyo said. Yu Qing also said that she wanted to follow. She was worried about her son and wanted to stay by Night Sorrow's side. Father, Mother, take my sister to the city in the sky to rest for a while. I'm now a 9-star saint. There's nothing that can threaten me, Night Sorrow said with a smile. He naturally knew that his parents were worried about his safety. After that, Wu Lingfei also told Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing not to worry because she planned to go with Night Sorrow. Good. With Territory Lord Wu going with you, Mother can be at ease. Come back soon. Once we return, we will prepare for your wedding. You can't refuse anymore, said Yu Qing. Okay, I won't refuse. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. He had already delayed it for a long time. He also needed to give Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi an official identity. While Knight Sorrow was drinking and chatting with the people around him, in an underground hall of sky-bearing city, Yun Tianlong was sitting in the main seat. Lu Qin was sitting to the side, and the elders of the assassination hall were all present. Some of the rules of the assassination hall need to be changed, said Yun Tianlong. Hall Master, is there a problem? Asked Elder Mu Yuanting. The commander already knows about the situation of the assassination hall. Today, he called me alone to talk. He hopes that when we assassinate our targets, we won't accept the assassination, said Yun Tianlong. The commander actually knows, said Grand Elder Wu Tianhe with some surprise. The commander is the ruler of the 9 regions world. Nothing can be hidden from him. We'll just do as he says. Furthermore, the commander's words are very reasonable. Killing targets without morals will harm our assassination hall's karmic luck, said Yun Tianlong. From what you're saying, my identity has been exposed as well. Lu Qin looked at Yun Tianlong with some surprise. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. I think it's very secretive. Since you've been exposed, there's no way you won't be exposed. Our people should have been exposed this time. However, the commander didn't have any intentions of targeting us. But we can't cross the line in his heart, said Yun Tianlong. Hearing Yun Tianlong's words, everyone nodded. Everyone knew that Yishan's bottom line couldn't be touched. Last time, we were tricked by Ji Yuhao. We had to assassinate the commander. That was too much of a trap. Fortunately, the commander was magnanimous. Otherwise, with just a word from him, our assassination hall would have ceased to exist, sighed Wu Tianhe. I'll talk to the commander some other day, said Lu Qin. If no one has any objections, then it's settled. We also need to make some contributions to the 9 regions world. If the target is evil, we'll kill them even if it's just a piece of silver. If the target has no morals, we won't accept it even if it's a sky-high price, said Yun Tianlong. Everyone in the assassination hall cupped their hands and accepted the order. You don't know, but when the commander told me about this, I was under a lot of pressure. It was like I was being judged, said Yun Tianlong. That's true. The commander's aura was too strong. Even I didn't dare to speak carelessly in front of him, said Lu Qin. After that, everyone in the hall dispersed. They all belonged to different forces. They only gathered together when something happened. After Knight Sorrow sent his parents to the spatial passageway where the medicinal valley was, he returned to the campsite and put the god-slaying squad and Wu Lingfei into the pagoda of time and space. Then, he passed through the spatial passageway and teleported to the teleportation formation that the Nether Realm's troops hadn't been able to destroy in time. One day later, Knight Sorrow led the god-slaying squad into the Nether Realm cities. At this time, the Nether Realm no longer had a ruling class. Some cities were under the control of families and sections. When they saw Knight Sorrow and the others, the Nether Realm's people avoided them directly. They didn't fight at all. Speak. Chapter 923. After taking care of a few city lord mansions that had not been robbed, Yishang knew that it would be very difficult for the Nether Realm to recover for a period of time. The main reason was that the high-level cultivators had been slaughtered too ruthlessly. There were only a few saints left. I thought I could sense the Nether Realm's origin, but the Nether Realm isn't under the rule of the 9 domains world. It's not a subsidiary world, so I can't find the origin, Knight Sorrow said to Wu Lingfei. We haven't occupied it, so the Nether Realm isn't a subsidiary of the 9 domains world. Wu Lingfei nodded. Right, Auntie Fei, the departure of Dongshuan's origin didn't harm you in any way, did it? Knight Sorrow thought of a more important question. No. Although the origin left my body, it left behind a large strand of origin qi. Auntie Fei is still Dongshuan's master, but it's nothing in front of you, the master of the 9 domains world, said Wu Lingfei. Auntie Fei, don't joke around, Night Sorrow said a little embarrassedly. Be careful in the future. I can't sense the profound jade qi in your body anymore, Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Last time, when I faced the lightning tribulation, it wanted to annihilate the profound jade qi. I couldn't bear to part with it, so I used my hands to refine it. Night Sorrow said a little embarrassedly. Wu Lingfei had told him not to refine the profound jade qi in the past. It's fine. You're strong now, so Auntie Fei isn't worried. But you still have to be careful, said Wu Lingfei. Night Sorrow smiled. He knew that this was Wu Lingfei. No matter how strong he was, she was still worried about his safety. Night Sorrow led the god-slaying squad around the Nether Realm, ransacking the more important cities, but there was still no news of the Nine Dark King. Night Sorrow didn't plan on continuing to cause trouble. The Nine Dark King didn't care about these things right now. He was probably hiding and cultivating. The Nether Realm was no smaller than the Nine-domain world, so if the Nine underworld monarch wanted to hide, Night Sorrow wouldn't be able to find him. There was nothing he could do about it. After raiding the largest city, Nether City's City Lord Mansion, Night Sorrow led his men back to the spatial tunnel. He then returned to Nine-domain world and arrived at Sky City. The few saints were all staying in the city in the sky. They didn't have much to do. The city in the sky had a beautiful environment, and it was also suitable for cultivating one's body and mind and strengthening one's mental state. When Night Sorrow returned, everyone felt a lot more at ease. We should leave some people at the entrance of the spatial passage to keep an eye on it. Otherwise, we won't even know when they break the array. Long Xianqing said. My soul avatar is guarding the array formation. Furthermore, I've left a communication crystal in the array formation. Even if my avatar isn't there, I'll be the first to know if the array formation is broken, said Yishan. You're experienced in doing things, so there's nothing for us to worry about. You should rest well for a while. You've been working hard during this period. Xie Lanjun said. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. He also wanted to relax. Recently, he had been cultivating and fighting under high pressure. It was unrealistic to say that he wasn't tired. In addition, your father and your mother went to the Medicine Valley and the Sikong family to set the date for your wedding. It's 2 months later on the 15th day of the month. Yi Wuyo said. Father and mother will have to work hard for this. I don't know much about it either. Night Sorrow said. Hee, this is a big matter. When the time comes, many people will come. I'm afraid the city in the sky will be too busy. If not, we can change the location. Xie Lanjun said. In Night Moon City, Night Sorrow is the young master of Night Moon and the successor of Night Moon. It's suitable for Night Moon City. Yi Wuyo said. No one had any objections because this was Night Moon's family matter. After staying with everyone for a while, Night Sorrow brought the girls to the lake. Then, he set up the space-time pagoda there. In the future, the space-time pagoda will be set up here. If you have any problems, you can communicate with Little Kong. You can go in and out at any time. You can also choose one of the 60th to 69th floors as your room. Night Sorrow said to Sikong Chuyu and the others. Then can you leave a place for Aunt Fei? Wu Lingfei asked. Of course, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Next, Wu Lingfei, Xueshi, Sikong Chuyu, and the others went to the wooden boat to make tea and chat. Night Sorrow stood in front of the lake, studying the map he had obtained in Nether City. Then, he saw an area. Nether Abyss. Nether Abyss was a special area in Nether Realm. It was a bottomless abyss. The nether energy there was very dense, and ordinary lifeforms could not get close. Night Sorrow felt that the source of Nether Realm should be there. However, he could not enter it. The death attribute was a high-level attribute, and the nether energy was the pinnacle of the darkness attribute. It was very harmful to him. In addition, Night Sorrow felt that Hades' 9 yin might be there as well. Hades' 9 yin's existence was not a big problem for Night Sorrow. In a short time, Hades' 9 yin would not be his match. If Hades' 9 yin spent time cultivating, her cultivation would increase. However, by then, the laws of the 9 domains world would be complete. She would not be able to enter the 9 domains world. She would not even be able to enter the supreme river space. It was just like how Wu Lingfei and the others had tried to enter the supreme river space. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow put the map into his storage ring and stood by the lake with his hands behind his back. At this time, Night Sorrow did not have the spear behind him. Under the guidance of the 9 domains origin body, the reincarnation spear was put into Night Sorrow's dantian. He used his quintessential chi and laws to nourish it. The space-splitting spear was the same. It was also in Night Sorrow's clone. At this time, Yi Wuyo came to Night Sorrow's side. Night Sorrow accompanied him for a walk by the lake. I've sent 2 venerables of Night Moon to the Medicine Valley area. There's no problem with the safety of that family, Yi Wuyo said. Father, if you want to know the reason, I'll tell you. However, this matter is very important. Then, Night Sorrow told him what he had guessed. It involves the ancestors. This matter must be kept a secret. If I had known, I wouldn't have asked, Yi Wuyo said. Father, you're the ruler of Night Moon. You should know. It's still early. In a few years, we'll bring their family to Night Moon. Chen Chen's state of mind has also changed. He's no longer gloomy and scheming. He has become much more peaceful. People mature as long as they're alive, Night Sorrow said. Okay, Father will take this matter to heart. Yi Wuyo nodded. According to Father's cultivation, you can enter the pagoda of time and space to accelerate time cultivation. However, I think you should wait until Mother becomes a saint first, Night Sorrow said with a smile. I understand. By the way, that Hades' 9 yin is a big hidden danger. You have to be careful, Yi Wuyo said. Speak. Chapter 924. Night Sorrow shook his head. It's not a big problem. Father, don't worry. After staying with Night Sorrow for a while, Yi Wuyo left. He had always been worried about Night Sorrow. He was worried that Night Sorrow was young and handled some things carelessly. But now, he was relieved because Night Sorrow had a calmness that people his age didn't have. Night Sorrow returned to the wooden boat and drank tea and chatted with the girls. Then, the girls suggested going to Night Moon City to buy some dresses and clothes. Night Sorrow didn't want to go. He wanted to accompany Father Gu. Sikong Chuyu and the others pulled Wu Lingfei to Night Moon City. When Yishang arrived at the mansion, he took out a wine jar and poured a bowl of wine for Father Gu. Night Sorrow, you have a lot of things to do. You don't have to come and accompany me, Father Gu said to Night Sorrow. What are you talking about, Father? No matter how busy I am, I have time to accompany you, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Father Gu smiled and nodded. He knew that this was Night Sorrow. He was as filial to him as he was in Juyuan village. He was still the Night Sorrow who replaced him at a young age and went hunting to support the family. Father, there's something else I want to tell you. Don't be angry, Night Sorrow said to Father Gu. You never do anything against your conscience. I know that. Why would I be angry? Father Gu said with a smile. He was very happy. Night Sorrow ordered the 2 worlds to be connected, but he was still like a child in front of him. Father, I saw Chen Chen a while ago. He's already married and has children. He's living an ordinary life. He knows that he was wrong and asked me to apologize to you on his behalf, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow, I don't want to nag you, but you shouldn't have gone to see him. I'm afraid that he'll have other ideas and harm you, Father Gu said. Father, I can feel the kindness and malice in the hearts of the people of the 9 domains world when they face me. I'm sure that Qin Chen's heart has changed. Perhaps it's because he's changed after experiencing so many twists and turns in life. He said that an ordinary life is what he should have. If he hadn't become calm, he wouldn't have invited me to tea. Let's go and take a look. After all, he once called you Godfather, Night Sorrow said. All right, after all, we lived under the same roof. He was originally a pitiful person. I also hope that he can live a better life. As long as he repents, I won't be calculative about everything. Old Man Gu nodded. After that, Night Sorrow led Father Gu to Zhuyuan village. After several teleportations, Night Sorrow and Father Gu arrived at Zhuyuan city. Then, led by Night Sorrow, the two of them arrived in front of Qin Chen's tea house. Seeing Father Gu's arrival, Qin Chen was stunned for a moment. He straightened his robes, knelt in front of Father Gu, and kowtowed 3 times in a row. Qin Chen did not say anything to beg for forgiveness, nor did he look at Father Gu's expression. He stood up. Perhaps others did not understand, but Night Sorrow understood that Qin Chen was not kowtowing to beg for Father Gu's forgiveness. He was expressing remorse for the mistakes in his heart. Father Gu's forgiveness was not the most important thing to Qin Chen. What he needed was an explanation for his own heart. Have a seat inside. After standing up, Qin Chen nodded to Night Sorrow and Father Gu. Very good. Although you've taken the wrong path, you don't live a lowly life. That's good. I heard from Night Sorrow that you're married and have children. Bring them out for me to see, Father Gu said after entering the tea house and sitting down. Can I still call you Godfather? Qin Chen asked in a low voice when he heard Father Gu calling himself his father. Go ahead. Father Gu nodded. He also felt the change in Qin Chen. After staying in Qin Chen's tea house for a while, Night Sorrow and Father Gu left. When they arrived at the area where Zhuyuan town was located, after greeting their old neighbors and friends, Night Sorrow and Father Gu bought some wine and food, then returned to the old bamboo building. In front of the tombstone behind the bamboo building, Night Sorrow saw a middle-aged man sitting cross-legged. Night Sorrow had never seen this middle-aged man before, but he was wearing the robes of the Night Moon dynasty. Yi Wuqiu greets the young master. The middle-aged man stood up and bowed to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this was someone arranged by Yi Wuqiu. A mid-level venerable was enough. This subordinate and another brother are from Wuqiu City. We take turns guarding there. When we rest, we come here to accompany our old brother. Yi Wuqiu looked at the tombstone. He, the other person, and the 2 people in the tombstone were all Yi Wuqiu's guards. They were all life and death brothers. You don't know the importance of this mission now, but you'll understand in the future. Also, this bamboo building is my home. When you rest, you can come here and help me take care of this place, Night Sorrow said. Young master, don't worry. We bought a mansion near the tea house. There's also a group of rank 5 people patrolling the area, Yi Wuqiu said. Night Sorrow nodded. At this time, Uncle Nyo and the others came to the bamboo building with wine and meat. Night Sorrow introduced Yi Wuqiu to everyone. He was an uncle who had come here to rest. After drinking with everyone, Night Sorrow and Father Gu left. If they hadn't gone back for a long time, the women would be worried. It was convenient to use the teleportation array, so Yi Shang quickly returned to Sky City. After sending Father Gu back to his mansion, Yi Shang went to the lakeside. Looking at the original chapter, Sikong Chuyu and the others had already returned. They were chatting on the wooden boat. Where did you run off to? asked Sikong Chiyu. I went out with Father Gu for a walk. Did everyone have fun? Asked Night Sorrow. Night Moon City recovered really quickly. It's almost as bustling as some royal cities, but it's not as noisy, said Yang Lei. These are the robes we bought for you. Try them on. Aoi took out a few robes and handed them to Night Sorrow. Thank you, senior apprentice sister, said Night Sorrow. We picked them together, said Yang Lei. She glanced at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow smiled and tried them on. They all fit very well. Then the women entered the space-time pagoda. They needed to tidy up, cultivate, and live. Sikong Chiyu, Aoi, and Yang Lei chose the 61st floor. Xuexi and Wu Lingfei chose the 75th floor and 77th floor respectively. Night Sorrow also entered the top floor of the space-time pagoda. Night Sorrow, as your cultivation base has increased, my intelligence has also increased. Recently, I've sensed some problems. Shao Kong appeared beside Night Sorrow. What problems? How can I help you? Night Sorrow looked at Shao Kong in surprise. I feel like I'm not complete. It's like I'm missing something. I'm a new item spirit. The old item spirit shattered. Perhaps when the old item spirit shattered, the spacetime pagoda's main body was also injured, said Shao Kong to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow then began to talk to the 9 regions essence. Speak. Chapter 925. Night Sorrow knew a few things. The spacetime pagoda appeared in Central State City. The 9 regions' origins should know a little about the previous battle. As they talked, Night Sorrow understood a few things. The spacetime pagoda was not a treasure from the 9 regions' world. It came from the Sky Profound world. However, an expert from the Sky Profound world, Yu Wenqiu, brought the spacetime pagoda to Void Dao City to destroy it. However, what surprised him was that the Void Dao Saint King was very strong. This expert from the Sky Profound world was not his opponent. He fought and retreated and ran to Central State City to find his partner. After finding his partner, this expert from the Sky Profound world called Yu Wenqiu led people to kill the Void Dao Saint King. In the end, the Void Dao Saint King self-destructed. Everyone died together and the spacetime pagoda was left behind in Central State City. The 9 regions' origin energy could confirm one thing. The spacetime pagoda was like this back then. This meant that when the spacetime pagoda appeared in the 9 regions' world, it had 10 levels. Moreover, it did not have an artifact spirit. In the 9 regions' world, the 9 regions' origin energy knew about treasures with intelligence. After all, their natures were similar to his. After listening to the information provided by the 9 regions' origin energy, Night Sorrow knew that even if the spacetime pagoda was flawed, it did not appear in the 9 regions' world. It should be in the Sky Profound world. Forever free of charge. Night Sorrow could not do anything about this. In the 9 regions' world, he could not help the spacetime pagoda. After that, the 9 regions' origin energy provided Night Sorrow with another piece of information. 150 years ago, someone broke out of the 9 regions' world. However, the situation was not good now. He could feel that the person who left did not have a strong life force. After following Night Sorrow, the 9 regions' origin energy understood a lot of things. It also knew about the Moon Emperor Yi Tian. It understood that the person who left was Yi Tian. Hearing this, Night Sorrow was stunned. So something happened to him. Yes, he is a life form from the 9 regions world. Also, he broke out of the 9 regions world. He is the only one who left in 10,000 years. Therefore, I paid attention to him. His life force is not strong, but it proves that he is still alive. The 9 regions origin energy said. Which world did he go to? Night Sorrow asked excitedly. The Wuji realm. He cultivates the spatial attribute and has reached the pinnacle of the 9-star saint realm. That's why he has some insights. You can also sense that it is unrealistic for us from the 9-domain world to enter the heaven profound world. However, if we enter the Wuji realm, we can enter the heaven profound world through the Wuji realm. The 9-domain origin energy once again allowed Yi Shang to sense the world map around the 9-domain world. Yi Shang also knew about the existence of the Wuji world. He was not far from the 9-domain world and was even closer to the profound heaven world. The heaven profound world's people also came to the 9 regions world through the limitless world, Yi Shang said. The world. One world worlds world. Worlds. World. 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 World 2. After that, Night Sorrow understood some things. The infinite world and the heaven profound world were very close to each other and were connected by a spatial tunnel. However, those with high cultivations were unable to enter, as the infinite world was suppressed by the rules. Other experts were also unwilling to enter, because once the infinite world sensed danger, the master of the infinite world would appear and kill them. The heaven mystic world had countless subsidiary worlds, but a world master like this was a special case. It was no longer restricted by the laws of the heaven mystic world. Therefore, the experts of the sky profound world were not willing to enter. Senior, can you sense if there are any world masters in the profound sky world? Night Sorrow asked. No, that is a mature world. The world's laws are self-contained and there is no need for the existence of a world master. Therefore, no one has been able to see or obtain the origin of the heaven profound world. The 9 zones origin Chi said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow heaved a sigh of relief. He planned to visit the heaven profound world when he had the chance. If the heaven profound world had a world lord, it would be troublesome. Because in a world, the world lord was almost invincible and could sense the entry of other world lords. If the heaven profound world had a world lord, then Night Sorrow would not be able to enter. If he entered, he would be discovered by the world lord of the heaven profound world and would definitely attack Night Sorrow. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate. The time here was 10 times faster and could quickly increase his cultivation. On a platform protruding from the cliff of the netherworld abyss, the 9 dark monarch opened her eyes and exhaled. She had just recovered from the destruction of her clone and the impact on her original body. After thinking for a while, the 9 dark monarch knew that the netherworld abyss had been defeated. She also knew the difference between her and Night Sorrow. Even if they were to fight in the netherworld abyss, she did not have the cultivation of a 3-star holy king and would not be able to defeat Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow himself was very strong and also had a powerful clone. In addition, the 9 dark monarch also knew that Night Sorrow was favored by the heavens. She did not expect Night Sorrow to control the origin of the supreme river space. In the 9 dark monarch's understanding, Night Sorrow controlled the supreme river space because she knew that the 9 zones world was broken. She did not consider that Night Sorrow was the world lord of the 9 zones world because there was a big difference between a world lord and a space lord. The 9 dark monarch also wanted to be like Night Sorrow and control the netherworld abyss, but she could not do it. The netherworld abyss was bottomless and the origin of the netherworld abyss was at the bottom of the abyss. The 9 dark monarch could not get close and could only cultivate here. Now, she hoped that Night Sorrow was stuck at the Holy King bottleneck and she could increase her cultivation. When the time came, she could surpass the supreme river space that Night Sorrow could control and enter the 9 zones world to fight Night Sorrow. The 9 dark monarch could not be blamed for her miscalculation. Controlling a space and controlling a world were two completely different concepts. A world was formed by a space's evolution. Only a space that had grown to a certain size was qualified to be called a world. The origin of a space was in the form of an origin stone. When it evolved to a certain extent, it would evolve into an origin bead. The origin of a world was an origin bead made up of many kinds of laws. It was completely different from a space's origin bead. Therefore, it was relatively easy to become the world lord. It was almost impossible to become the world lord. The two were on completely different levels. Even if the origin of a space had intelligence, it was still very immature. The origin of a world already had a complete consciousness. It would not recognize a master unless it was about to be destroyed. Night Sorrow could become the void fiendish space's master because of their attributes. He could also become the world lord of the 9 zones world because of the accumulation of various reasons. The main reason was that the 9 zones world was in great danger when it was broken. Night Sorrow knew a lot, thought a lot, and worried a lot. Knowing that Yi Qianhua was fine, he began to worry about Yi Tian. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow began to cultivate. He now wanted to cultivate to the peak of the 9th level Saint Realm as soon as possible. Then, he could slowly stabilize his cultivation and cultivate. This was equivalent to accumulating in advance and building a foundation for entering the Saint King realm. Speak. Chapter 926. Before he started cultivating, Yi Shang gave little Kong some more spirit stones. Yi Shang, actually, your 3 fiancés can also go to the 70th level and undergo time acceleration cultivation. They all have ultimate bodies and can withstand the pressure of the power of time. The main thing is that after you became a saint, my ability has also strengthened and I can control energy better, Lil Kong said. Alright, I will also bring the members of the God-slaying squad in so that their cultivation will be smoother, Night Sorrow said. Yes, but you will need spirit stones to support it, Shao Kong said. Speaking of spirit stones, Night Sorrow had a headache. Recently, he had not obtained many spirit stones, but he had consumed a lot. Just as Night Sorrow was rubbing his forehead, the 9 regions' origin energy told Night Sorrow that he actually had a source of spirit stones. The spirit stones inside the 9 regions world could not be excavated, as it would affect the development of the 9 regions world. However, at the edge of the 9 regions world, the turbulent flow of energy passed through the spatial barrier and formed spirit stones in some places. This situation made Night Sorrow very happy. Under the guidance of his 9 realms origin energy avatar, Night Sorrow left Sky City and flew to the edge of the realm sea, arriving at the region where the spatial barrier was. Flying along the spatial barrier, he would excavate some spirit stones when he came across a place. However, no matter how many spirit stones there were, Night Sorrow would only excavate 1/3 of them. This would not affect the growth of the spirit stones. In half a month, Night Sorrow flew for millions of miles and excavated thousands of top-grade spirit stones. Night Sorrow did not put the spirit stones into his storage ring. Instead, he put them in the storage space on the first floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. Night Sorrow was not greedy. Although the 9 regions' origin energy said that it was fine, he felt that it was enough. There was no need to continue excavating. Those were the resources and wealth of the 9 regions world. After settling the matter of spirit stones, Night Sorrow returned to Sky City. There were still close to 2 months before his parents' wedding. After Night Sorrow stored the members of the God-slaying team into the Spacetime Pagoda, he went to the top floor of the Spacetime Pagoda and began cultivating. Nearly 2 months had passed in the real world. Night Sorrow had been cultivating in the Spacetime Pagoda for 1.5 years. He had raised his quintessential energy cultivation to the late 9-star Saint stage and cultivated the myriad Tao's treasured tome to the late 9-star Golden Body stage before coming out of seclusion. He had also used up all of his 4-clawed silver dragon's blood essence. Night Sorrow didn't intend to kill the 4-clawed silver dragon. After all, it was a life form of the 9-domain world. As the ruler of the 9-domain world, it wasn't appropriate for him to kill the life forms of the 9-domain world for his own needs. Yu Qing glared at Night Sorrow. You little rascal, if you didn't come out, I would have crushed your messaging crystal. Didn't I tell you the time of your wedding? There are still a few days left. Many people have arrived at the Night Moon City. Your grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-aunt, and great-great-uncle are all receiving guests. Mother, don't be angry. I came out of seclusion. Night Sorrow hurriedly apologized. In a while, come with me to meet your grandfather and grandmother, as well as your uncle and cousin. They were in the Night Moon Dynasty camp some time ago. Because you were busy, I didn't bring you to meet them. They wanted to meet you, but I didn't let them. After all, it's not appropriate for the elders to meet the younger generation, Yu Qing said. That's my fault. I found out that the elders of Bayou City were in the Night Moon Dynasty camp. However, I happened to have something to do, so I didn't meet them. Night Sorrow said embarrassedly. On the next chapter, when he found the members of the assassination hall, he also found the people of Bayou City. However, he had to deal with the matters of the underworld and had forgotten about meeting them. It's fine. It's fine. Everyone knows that you're busy. No one is unhappy about this. Let's go now. Here's some good wine. Your grandfather doesn't have any other hobbies besides drinking. Here's some heart-cleansing tea. No matter what, you have to give your grandmother some gifts. Yu Qing had already prepared the gifts. Mother, I'm sorry. Night Sorrow felt apologetic. What are you saying? Yu Qing helped her son tidy up his robes. Do you need me to bring Chuyu and the others? Night Sorrow asked. There's no need for that for now. You'll be getting married in 2 days. At that time, we'll formally meet and acknowledge each other. Yu Qing thought for a moment and did not intend to interrupt Sikong Chuyu and the others' cultivation. Under Yu Qing's lead, Night Sorrow and Yu Qing arrived at Sky City's guest house. Within the guest house's courtyard stood an old man with a long beard. He had a lion's nose and a tiger's mouth. He had a dignified expression and was currently cursing someone. It was for no other reason than that his son had beaten him in chess. The old man was none other than Yu Tianhe, the city lord of Bayou City, which was under the influence of Night Moon Dynasty. Father, your temper is still so bad, Yu Qing said with a smile. If Yukong was like you, I wouldn't be so angry. That bastard, I made a wrong move. I didn't even loosen my grip on him before he started messing around with me. Bayou City's city lord, Yu Tianhe, glared at a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man had a striking appearance. His appearance was similar to Yu Qing's, but he had an additional masculine aura. He stood there like an unsheathed sword. He was Bayou City's only junior city lord, Yu Qing's younger brother, and Night Sorrow's uncle, Yukong. But now, he was being scolded so badly that his nose was on the line. Night Sorrow, this is your grandfather, and this is your uncle, introduced Yu Qing. Night Sorrow greets grandfather, greets uncle. Night Sorrow bowed to the two of them. Good, very good. I wanted to meet you a while ago, but it wasn't a good time to greet you. Sit. Yu Tianhe's expression changed very quickly. Just a moment ago, he had been cursing angrily, but now he was smiling brightly. Grandfather, sit. Uncle, sit too. Night Sorrow helped his mother sit down before sitting down himself. After Yu Tianhe sat down, he directly yelled at Yukong, "You bastard, I told you to sit." Yukong, who was about to sit down, could only stand up awkwardly. He had made the right move, but the result was wrong. He could only endure his father's anger. Grandfather, this is the good wine my mother prepared for you. Try it and calm down. Night Sorrow stood up, opened the wine jar, and poured a bowl for Yu Tianhe. I left for a while, but you're still angry. At this time, a white-haired woman walked into the guest house with a walking stick. Behind her were two women in their 20s. "Madam, you're back." "I'm not angry. It's just that little bastard." Yun Tianhe stood up and pointed at Yukong. "He's a little bastard, but you're an old bastard. Aren't you afraid your grandson will laugh at you?" The white-haired woman glared at Yu Tianhe before nodding at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow greets grandmother. Night Sorrow bowed to the white-haired woman. "Don't be so polite, and don't be offended. Bayou City's Yu family only looks like a family when grandmother is here. If grandmother isn't here, the family will turn upside down." "Yu Tianhe, don't you think so?" The white-haired woman sat down and yelled at Yu Tianhe. "Speak." Chapter 927. Madam is right. "The Yu family needs Madam to oversee it," said Yu Tianhe with a smile. "Yukong, don't you know what kind of person your father is? After suffering 100 times, he still doesn't learn his lesson," scolded the white-haired woman. "You're right, mother. But father says he's #1 in Bayou City when it comes to chess." "I don't accept that," said Yukong. "You don't accept that? I'll deal with you later." Yu Tianhe glared at his son. After listening to their conversation, Night Sorrow was speechless. Fortunately, his mother was like his grandmother. If she was like his grandfather and uncle, he would have died. But with his grandmother around, this family was still very harmonious. In addition, Yi Shang also knew that Bayou City belonged to the Yu family. However, the person who had the most authority was the wife of the city lord, Pan Jia, who was also his maternal grandmother. His maternal grandmother was also the strongest person in Bayou City. "Night Sorrow, it was your mother who went home to visit her family that led to the accident. I'm very sorry that you had to wander outside for so many years. I've sent people to search for you, but there was no news." Pan Jia looked at Night Sorrow apologetically. "Grandmother, you're exaggerating. Night Sorrow has been living well these past few years," said Night Sorrow as he stood up. "Sit down. These are your two cousins, Yu Xiaofei and Yu Xiaolu." Pan Jia introduced the two women behind her to Night Sorrow. "Yi Shang greets my two elder cousins." Yi Shang cupped his hands in salute to his two elder cousins. "Grandmother, with the commander cousin, we can do whatever we want when we go out," said Yu Xiaolu with a smile. At the same time, she sized up Night Sorrow. "What did I let you suffer in the past?" Yukong looked at his daughter with dissatisfaction. "Shut up. If you had the ability, Bayou City wouldn't have a successor right now." Yu Tianhe glared at his son. Yukong fell silent once more. He also had two wives, but both of them were daughters. This caused him to have no status in the family. Night Sorrow had been listening the whole time. After lunch, he followed his mother back to his mansion. "Mother, before you got married, you must have suffered a lot at home," Night Sorrow said with a smile. Hee, it's fine. Your grandfather doesn't yell at your mother, and your uncle respects your mother a lot." Yu Qing also laughed, because the Yu family was indeed a bit different. "That's good." Night Sorrow nodded. After chatting with his mother for a while, Night Sorrow and Yu Qing went to Night Moon City to meet the seniors who had come. Almost everyone from the Commander-in-Chief's residence had arrived. The saints and managers of the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm, who Night Sorrow knew, had also come to Night Moon City. Night Sorrow went to visit them one by one. Although he was the Commander-in-Chief, these people were his seniors, and he respected them very much. After visiting them, he drank some wine with his seniors from the Medicine Valley. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow returned to Sky City. He stood in front of the cliff in front of his mansion and looked at the lake. Night Sorrow's heart was filled with emotions. After all these years, Night Sorrow couldn't believe it himself. He was grateful to everyone who had accompanied him all these years. What are you thinking about? Yi Wuyo, who had just returned from Night Moon City, came to Night Sorrow's side. In the blink of an eye, more than 20 years have passed. Some things are as vivid as yesterday. I'm very grateful to those who have accompanied me all these years, Night Sorrow said. Don't think too much. Just treat those who are good to you well. You had a hard time when you were young. This was because of the war, and also because I didn't fulfill my responsibility as a father. Thinking of Night Sorrow's suffering in Juyuan village, and thinking of Night Sorrow's struggle in Medicine Valley as a child, Yi Wuyo also felt uncomfortable in his heart. Father, in fact, I'm very happy now because my family is safe and sound, and the people around me are safe and sound. I'm very happy and content to be able to contribute to this safety. Night Sorrow looked at Yi Wuyo and said, I understand. Rest quietly for 2 days. You don't need to worry about your wedding. Your great aunt Shin Yu will handle this matter very well, Yi Wuyo said to Night Sorrow. The only thing that was right was that he was a pirate. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this was his family. They would think of everything for him. Then, Night Sorrow went to the lake and looked at the glowing space-time pagoda. Then, he got on the wooden boat, untied the rope, and lay down on the deck chair. He let the boat drift with the current while he quietly looked at the sky. Without knowing when, Night Sorrow fell asleep. There were many people and things in his dream, and they were all things of the past. When he woke up, the moon was already high in the sky. Night Sorrow took a robe and covered himself with it. At this time, Wu Lingfei, Sikong Chiyu, and the others flew over and landed on the wooden boat. What's wrong with you? You even removed your protective energy. It's so cold at night. Sikong Chiyu took out a blanket and covered Night Sorrow's body. I just want to experience the life of an ordinary person in the past. When I was young, I went hunting and set out before dawn. It's also like this. Night Sorrow said. No one said anything. They knew that Night Sorrow was a bit sentimental when he was quiet. After chatting for a while, Wu Lingfei brought the girls back to the lake. Then, she communicated with Xiao Kong and entered the 61st floor of the Spacetime Pagoda, which was where Sikong Chiyu and the others cultivated. Aunt Fei, Night Sorrow's mood is a bit unstable, Sikong Chiyu said worriedly. You don't understand. This is a good thing, a rare good thing. In fact, many people don't understand what is the key to entering the Saint King realm from the Saint realm. Wu Lingfei shook her head. Then Wu Lingfei told the girls, including Xuexi, the key to entering the Saint King realm from the Saint realm. Although Wu Lingfei's cultivation wasn't as high as Xuexi's, her talent was astonishing. She had the inheritance of her race, so she knew a lot. What was needed to enter the Saint King realm from the Saint realm was the state of mind. Over the countless years, there had been many peak saints, but Saint Kings had only appeared 10,000 years ago. That was because the Saint realm wasn't high enough. To enter the Saint King realm from the Saint realm, one had to break through to the nascent soul stage. Breaking one's core pearl to form a nascent soul was a realm that could only be touched by one's cultivation. It required one's state of mind to return to the origin. What Aunt Fei means is that Night Sorrow is now unknowingly laying the foundation for entering the Saint King realm. Aoi asked with some surprise. That's right, but why is his state of mind so high? Why has he reached this step? Aunt Fei doesn't understand, Wu Lingfei shook her head. It should be related to becoming the 9 regions world master. After becoming the 9 regions world master, he understands the world. His state of mind is actually a cultivation method, Xuexi said after thinking about it. Yes, that should be the case, so you don't need to be nervous about his situation. There's no need to interfere, Wu Lingfei said. Sikong Chiyu and the others nodded. This matter was too big. If they delayed Night Sorrow's state of mind and delayed Night Sorrow's breakthrough to the Saint King realm, the consequences would be serious. Speak. Chapter 9:28. Over the next 2 days, Night Sorrow drifted with the waves on the wooden boat, watching the sun rise and set, watching the clouds roll and disperse. Night Sorrow just wanted to relax. He didn't think about anything else. After relaxing for 2 days, Night Sorrow returned to the lake and transferred everyone out of the space-time pagoda. It was soon his wedding day with the girls. Night Sorrow, how should we deal with Sister Xuexi's matter? Aoi looked at Night Sorrow. I don't need it. I really do. It's good to be quiet like this. Xuexi hurriedly shook her head. You really don't need it. If you want it, I can do it, Night Sorrow said to Xuexi. It's good to be like this. If I need it, I'll tell you. I'll go back to the space-time pagoda to cultivate, Xuexi said to Night Sorrow. Okay. Remember my words. Night Sorrow nodded. He planned to solve the problem of the Xuexi Divine Pearl's soul power after returning from the wedding. Night Sorrow brought Wu Lingfei, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi to the mansion. You're very punctual this time. Tomorrow is the wedding day, Yu Qing said with a smile. Yu Qing said with a smile. Then, she brought the girls away. Before the wedding, the man and woman were not allowed to be together. Next, Yiling Huan brought Night Moon's people to let Night Sorrow try on a wedding robe. Not bad. Heroic and festive, Yiling Huan said after sizing up his grandson. Night Sorrow smiled at Yiling Huan. Is the wedding very troublesome? We all know what you're thinking. A wedding is just a formality. It's just a ceremony to pay respects to the ancestors and then we'll have a big banquet with guests. There's no other unnecessary formalities, Yiling said with a smile. Night Sorrow nodded. He didn't like things that were too complicated. After a night's rest, Night Sorrow welcomed the wedding ceremony. First, accompanied by his family, he went to the Medicine Valley and the Sikong family's resting place to pick up the bride. Then, he worshipped the inscription in front of the night moon and entered the main hall to worship the ancestors. Finally, he served tea to the elders of both parties. Night Sorrow didn't forget Father Gu. Under everyone's attention, Night Sorrow arrived in front of Father Gu and bent down to drink some tea. Father, it's been hard on you all these years. Not at all, not at all. Watching you grow up slowly and seeing you have a promising future, I'm very happy. Old Man Gu smiled and said. Sikong Chuyu and company also bowed. They respected Papa Gu and knew how important Papa Gu was to Night Sorrow. He was no different from a parent. After the ceremony, there was a big banquet. The banquet was held from the night moon to the night moon city. All the restaurants in the Night Moon City welcomed guests for free. They drank with the guests until Night Sorrow brought the girls back to the city in the sky. Why do I feel like I've been in a battle? Night Sorrow said with a smile as he looked at the red festive lanterns in the mansion. It's very busy, but I'm very happy. From today onwards, we are the wives of the commander, said Yang Lei, who was wearing a red festive phoenix robe. You've always been. Night Sorrow nodded with a smile. Then, Night Sorrow pulled them into the bedroom. Everyone slept together, but they just chatted and talked about the past. They didn't do anything else. After resting for a night, Night Sorrow brought the 3 girls to visit their relatives again. Then, they resumed their previous lives. The girls also entered the space-time pagoda to cultivate. Night Sorrow used 1.5 years in the space-time pagoda and 2 months in the real world to raise his true Qi cultivation and myriad Dao scripture cultivation to the peak of the sage realm. Night Sorrow didn't disturb the girls' cultivation. He went to the holy hall and accompanied the child to cultivate. At this time, Night Sorrow was just like an ordinary person. There was no energy fluctuation on his body. This was because of the suppression of the rules. Night Sorrow knew that when there was no need for the suppression of the rules and his aura didn't leak out, he would return to his original state. It was an opportunity to enter the Saint King realm. This was recorded in the clear heaven scripture. After staying with the child in the holy hall for a few days, Night Sorrow returned to the bamboo forest peak. The bamboo forest peak was Night Sorrow's territory in the Medicine Valley. No matter how the management of the Medicine Valley changed, this didn't change and wouldn't change. The Taishan Peak had already designated the bamboo forest peak area, where Night Sorrow cultivated, as a forbidden area. Ordinary disciples couldn't enter. Night Sorrow lived in the bamboo forest peak. He lived the life of an ordinary person. Every day, he would fetch water and make tea, stroll in the bamboo forest, and look around. If there was a difference between Night Sorrow and before, it was that he didn't kill. He had changed his habit of eating barbecued meat. This was a change after he became the 9 Regions World Lord. He didn't want to hurt any life in the 9 Regions world. After learning that Night Sorrow had returned to the bamboo forest peak, there were people who came to visit him a few days ago. Later on, the number of people who came to visit him decreased. Even though they didn't know what was going on with Night Sorrow, they knew that Night Sorrow didn't like to be disturbed. The peak lord of the crepe myrtle was now Tang Chanqian. Yi Xiling had already stepped down and became the elder of the main peak. However, she still lived in the crepe myrtle. Master, disciple and senior sister went to visit Supreme Elder Night Sorrow the day before yesterday. We couldn't see through his cultivation base. Why do I feel like he's just an ordinary person? Lin Jingyi looked at Yi Xiling and asked. I don't know either. He's a peak 9-star saint. He has killed a 9-star saint from the Netherworld realm and destroyed the clone of a saint king. Therefore, his situation isn't something that ordinary people can understand. Yi Xiling shook her head. She was currently at the peak of the void inquiry stage at the 5th grade. She was trying to break through to the venerable realm. However, compared to a saint realm expert, be it in terms of cultivation base or vision, she was still far behind. When we went there, he was chopping materials and making tea. Something that can be easily solved with just a little bit of pill fire, he did it very carefully. If we don't know about his past, we would think that he's just an ordinary young master who is comprehending life. Tang Chanqian said. Perhaps he's comprehending life. It's very difficult for us to understand his matters. If you really have any questions about cultivation, you can go and ask him. He will give you the answer. Yi Xiling said. Tang Chanqian, Lin Jingyi, and the others nodded. A is the only genuine copy, KKKKKZ him. All of them are pirated copies. Sometimes, Night Sorrow would even look for Shi Yun Shao, Shi Yun Hai, Yu, Jiang Han, and the other companions who entered the void fiendish space to have a drink. Night Sorrow's behavior confused the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley. They did not know what Night Sorrow was doing. Chu Lingshao informed Gong Xian who was in the holy hall. After Gong Xian returned, he gathered all the supreme elders. Of course, Night Sorrow was an exception. He's already a peak saint realm expert now. It's very difficult for him to improve his cultivation base. Therefore, there's nothing much for him to do. He's just reminiscing about his past. Everyone, don't bother about his matters. He can do whatever he wants. Yu Yangyu said after thinking for a while. After staying in the bamboo forest peak for a month, Night Sorrow went to the holy hall to teach the children how to cultivate. He mingled with the children and became their leader. These were the days that Night Sorrow enjoyed very much. In addition, Night Sorrow discovered that the amount of energy leaking out of his body was much less when he did not deliberately control it. After staying for a while, Night Sorrow also planned to return to the city in the sky. After the wedding, he ran out. It was not appropriate for him to not go back for nearly 2 months. When Night Sorrow was about to leave, the children were very reluctant to part with him. Jun Xuanji said that Night Sorrow still had something to do, so the children reluctantly sent Night Sorrow to the teleportation array. Speak. Chapter 929. After returning to the city in the sky, Night Sorrow discovered that everyone was cultivating diligently. His fiancée was still in the space-time pagoda. After greeting his parents and chatting with Papa Gu for a while, Night Sorrow continued to row the boat on the lake. Life was very comfortable. Night Sorrow also took some time to cultivate the outer chapter of the Myriad Tao Tome. Night Sorrow felt that he had found the right cultivation path. Even if he didn't use the laws to suppress his energy, only half of it would leak out. Night Sorrow relaxed for 3 months before Sikong Chuyu and the others came out. Sikong Chuyu and the other two's cultivation increased very quickly. They were all mid-level supremacies, and all of them had laws. Qing Ji's cultivation also slowly caught up. Because she had the space origin in her body, when she controlled the laws, her mental state also improved. As for energy, there was no lack of it in the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Translator, Exodus Tales Editor, Exodus Tales Wu Lingfei and Xueshi also came out of seclusion. One of them had a 7-fold time acceleration on the 77th level, while the other had a 5-fold time acceleration on the 75th level. Night Sorrow had been out for 3 months, while they had cultivated for 1 or 2 years. Night Sorrow also chased the god-slaying team out so that everyone could relax. Night Sorrow, there are so many of us cultivating. The Spacetime Pagoda needs a lot of energy. Do you have enough spirit stones? Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Everyone, don't worry. I put a few thousand top-grade spirit stones in it some time ago. It won't run out of energy. Xueshi, I'll take back the spiritual power in your divine bead. Don't do anything, or it will hurt your divine bead, Night Sorrow said to Xueshi. No, it'll be easier for us to communicate if it stays inside. It won't hurt. Xueshi shook her head. She knew that Night Sorrow wouldn't hurt her, not at all. That's fine. You can deal with it whenever you want. Night Sorrow thought for a moment before nodding. Following that, the women caught some fish and chatted by the lake while roasting them. Night Sorrow, you're in a good situation. You should have gained some insights, right? Wu Lingfei asked Night Sorrow. The difficulty of entering the Saint King realm from the Saint realm lies mainly in one's state of mind. It's not easy to return to one's original state, Night Sorrow said. When you left, Auntie Fei had a chat with Long Xianxing and Saint Xian. They had all been peak saints for close to 1,000 years, but it's too difficult for them to return to their original state. Even if their current realm is higher than yours, it's not much higher. You being able to take this step might have something to do with your body of merit. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Maybe. I'm not too sure myself, Night Sorrow said with a smile. So what if you know? It's not like you can do it. Actually, you're fine the way you are now. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said. She understood that Night Sorrow had good fortune and merit, so the path he took was often in line with the heavenly way. I have to work hard to resolve the great calamity that the Heaven Profound world has launched against the 9-domain world. First of all, I have to rely on the resistance of the 9-domain world's laws. Second, I have to rely on my own strength. Only with strength can I have confidence. Night Sorrow took the roasted fish from Sikong Chuyu and said. Believe in yourself. You can definitely do it. Sikong Chuyu nodded to Night Sorrow. Yes, you can definitely do it. In addition, everyone is also working hard. Wu Lingfei nodded to Night Sorrow. After eating the roasted fish, the group returned to the mansion. When Night Sorrow returned to the mansion, Yi Wuyo and his wife arrived. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing were also in Sky City. Yi Wuyo was the person in charge of Night Moon, but Night Moon was currently developing in an orderly manner. There was nothing that he needed to personally deal with. Mother, you've already cultivated to the late stage of the 9th level Venerable Realm. You're not far from entering the Sage Realm. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Yes, I've already grasped the laws. Condensing the God bead is not a big problem. I just need some time. Yu Qing said. Mother, I'll go and bring little sister back. We'll have a family dinner together tonight. Aoi said. Okay, go then. Yu Qing nodded. Little sister is very hardworking. She's already at the late stage of the core condensation realm. She's not far from entering the 4th stage of the spirit severing realm. Night Sorrow said after watching Aoi leave. At that time, I didn't know you were still alive. The elders of Night Moon all treated her as the successor. Yi Wuyo said with a smile. Father, Mother, you should cultivate little sister as the successor of Night Moon. I have a lot of things to do. I don't have time to care about Night Moon. It's a burden for me. Night Sorrow said. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yi Wuyo fell into deep thought. Yu Qing didn't say anything. In fact, they all knew the situation. You're the commander of 2 worlds. In the future, it's not suitable for you to be the ruler of the Night Moon dynasty. You're from Night Moon. That's enough. However, I can't make the decision alone. I'll have to discuss it with your grandfather, great-grandfather, and great-uncle, Yi Wuyo said after thinking for a while. I've made things difficult for father. Night Sorrow said apologetically. Big brother, you've also made things difficult for father. At this time, Yin Yanxiao and Aoi entered the residence's main hall. With the teleportation formation, Aoi was able to quickly pick someone up. It's nothing. Night Sorrow rubbed the back of Yin Yanxiao's head. Big brother, did you encounter something difficult? Yin Yanxiao looked at Night Sorrow with a smile. Your big brother plans to give up the position of the young master of Night Moon and let you take it. Yu Qing said. That's right. How could I do that? Big brother is the commander of 2 worlds. He'll naturally be the future ruler of Night Moon. Yin Yanxiao was startled. In her eyes, Night Sorrow's big brother was omnipotent. He would naturally be the future ruler of Night Moon. Because your big brother is the commander of 2 worlds, there's no longer a need for him to be the ruler of Night Moon. As for Yilan and Yi Jun, they're a bit lacking. Only you can do it. However, your future husband might have to marry into Night Moon, said Yi Wuyo. Yin Yanxiao didn't say anything. She was still young, and there were some things she didn't understand. I hope to see a female ruler appear in Night Moon. Night Sorrow patted Yin Yanxiao on the shoulder. Father, won't Night Moon reject the appearance of a female ruler? Yang Lei looked at Yi Wuyo. They won't reject it. However, the next generation will depend on their bloodline. When the time comes, your children will also be able to replace them. Let's talk about it later. It's a bit far. I'll tell the elders about it later, said Yi Wuyo. After this matter was settled, it was time for the family feast. The family feast was prepared by the women. Night Sorrow and his father chatted while drinking tea. Night Sorrow pondered for a moment before telling Yi Wuyo about the boundless world and Yi Tian entering it. You're saying that the Moon Emperor's great ancestor's current situation isn't very good? Yi Wuyo looked at Night Sorrow in astonishment. Yes. However, he's still alive. That's for sure. Night Sorrow said. The boundless world has a world lord. You definitely can't rashly enter it. Be careful. This is a big matter. You have to be careful. Yi Wuyo looked at Night Sorrow. He didn't want his son to be in any danger. Speak. Chapter 930. I understand. I won't act recklessly. Night Sorrow nodded. It's been hard on you. You've been born in such a chaotic world. Everything has to happen to you. Yi Wuyo felt a bit helpless. Night Sorrow had too many things to take care of. The banquet was joyous and harmonious. The family was reunited. Everyone cherished it. This was what everyone wanted. After the banquet, Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing left Sky City with Yi Nianxiao. They wanted to go to Night Moon to discuss this matter with their family. Night Sorrow directly returned to his room to rest. He had drunk a bit of wine and wanted to rest. Sikong Chuyu and the others went to cultivate in the space-time pagoda beside the lake. Night Sorrow had told Little Kong that the members of the God-slaying squad, Xueshi, Wu Lingfei, and Sikong Chuyu, could enter and leave as they pleased. In the main hall of Night Moon, Yi Wuyo called his father and the other emperors over. He then told them about Night Sorrow's thoughts. That's the truth. Night Sorrow is currently the commander of 2 realms in the commander's residence. He really isn't suitable to be the ruler of the Night Moon dynasty. In truth, he's from the Night Moon. That's enough. As long as he's here, the Night Moon won't decline, said Yi Shenxian. Yi Shenxian and the others nodded. In truth, there were some things that everyone was well aware of. Nianxiao, your brother isn't suitable. In the future, Night Moon's guts will be placed on you. This is an opportunity for you, but it's also a pressure. Yi Xinyue looked at Yi Nianxiao. Great aunt, I don't care about pressure. I'm willing to share the worries of my family and clansmen, said Yi Nianxiao. The most outstanding member of Night Moon isn't the ruler. This is the only case in the history of the family. However, everyone knows this, said Yi Shenquang. After the meeting of the Night Moon family, Yi Nianzhao's status as the young master of Night Moon was decided. Of course, Night Sorrow's status as the young master of Night Moon remained unchanged. When the news of Night Moon's new young master was announced, it caused a huge uproar in the Night Moon dynasty. Many Night Moon citizens gathered and asked why Night Sorrow wanted to appoint a new young master. They did not accept it. Night Moon dynasty immediately released another announcement, explaining the situation. They explained that it was Night Sorrow's own will that extinguished the storm. Many Night Moon people only recognized Night Sorrow as their young master. After understanding the situation through the announcement, they calmed down. Night Moon Sky, Night God Thunder rubbed his face. Night Moon Dynasty's Elder Council can't replace the young master. This has never happened before. That's right. If it wasn't for Night Sorrow's own intentions, we wouldn't have been able to change his status as the young master. If we forcefully changed him, it would be a mutiny, Night Shinyu nodded. Prestige in Night Moon Dynasty, no one had a higher prestige than Night Sorrow. Even the undefeated King Yi Linghuan could not compare to him. This was because before the return of the Yi clan, Night Sorrow had already established a stable sky, giving the Night Moon citizens a stable and steady life. And this stability and steadfastness had been obtained by Night Sorrow at the cost of his life. He had slaughtered his way in and out of the various dynasties. This was something that all Night Moon citizens remembered. Night Sorrow did not know about this. He lived the life of an ordinary person every day. He even took a pair of large scissors and became a gardener in the city in the sky, pruning the flowers and trees. Sometimes, Night Sorrow would bring a pair of large scissors to the holy hall. After teaching the children, he would trim the flowers and plants in the holy hall. He had even made a reclining chair himself. After guiding the children in their cultivation, he would sleep on the reclining chair with a bamboo cover he had brought with him when trimming the flowers. So this is the commander. Once Tai Shu Yen, Lu Qin, and Jun Xuanji had finished dealing with the issue of resources, they arrived at the martial practice field. Jun Xuanji was a bit puzzled as he looked at the sleeping Yishan. That's right. He's been extremely comfortable every day, Tai Shu Yen said with a smile. It's simply impossible to associate him with the commander who defeated the 9 Yin Underworld King. Jun Xuanji also shook his head. He was too tired in the past. Ever since he came out of Bamboo Garden Village, he had never stopped fighting. It's time for him to rest, Tai Shu Yen said. Tai Shu Yen and Jun Xuanji left, but Lu Qin did not. She stood at the side of the reclining chair. Night Sorrow only woke up when the sun set. City Lord Lu, what are you doing? No one will do anything to me. Why do I need to stand guard? Night Sorrow said as he tidied up his robes. Commander, this subordinate is here to apologize. This subordinate sent people to assassinate the commander. Lu Qin said with a bow. Was there such a thing? Why didn't I know about it? You're thinking too much. The current situation is quite good. I believe that under the arrangements of Monarch Yun and City Lord Lu, everything will be fine. Night Sorrow covered Lu Qin for a moment and then made his words clearer. Yes, everything will be fine. Lu Qin nodded in response. She naturally understood what Night Sorrow meant. I have no choice but to arrange so many things for City Lord Lu. The Holy Hall is too important. Night Sorrow changed the topic. Haha, the matters of the South Li region will be handled by others. Monarch Yun also has arrangements for some other matters. If the commander feels that it's been hard on me, then get me a reclining chair tomorrow. Lu Qin pointed at the reclining chair beside Night Sorrow. Alright, tomorrow I'll get one for you, Martial Uncles, and Elder June. It's very comfortable, and it'll be good for sunbathing. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. Let's go. The next day, Night Sorrow really did make 3 reclining chairs and gave them to Tai Shu Yen, Lu Qin, and Jun Xuanji. These are reclining chairs personally made by the commander of the 2 realms. Lying on them will definitely be very comfortable, Tai Shu Yen said after putting away the reclining chairs. Night Sorrow stayed in the Holy Hall as a teacher and gardener. Sometimes he would go to Zhuyuan City and drink tea at Qin Chen's tea house. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. Night Sorrow was still the same. When he had time, he would walk around and spend the rest of his time in the Holy Hall. Others felt that Night Sorrow did not cultivate and had nothing to do, but Night Sorrow knew that he had gained a lot. Even without the suppression of the rules, only 1/3 of his aura would leak out. This made him feel that living naturally was very effective in nurturing his state of mind. Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 girls would sometimes come to the Holy Hall, mainly to see Night Sorrow. On this day, while Night Sorrow was still sleeping under the sun, Yi Wuyo and Yu Qin came. Their children were all here, so naturally they had to come and see them. But this time, Yu Qin was a little angry. Father, Mother, you're here. I'll go call my sister. Night Sorrow got up and said after putting away the reclining chairs. Wait a moment. If you stay here all day, when will Mother be able to hold a grandson? Tomorrow, we'll go back to Sky City. If you don't have a child, you're not allowed to come out. Yu Qin stared at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow had been married for more than 2 years, but he still had no children. The people of Night Moon were very puzzled, and Yi Wuyo and his wife were also very anxious. Mother, it's not like that. It's not that I don't want children, but there's something wrong with my body. Night Sorrow said. If there's something wrong, go find a pharmacist. Yu Qin was stunned and said. She did not expect Night Sorrow to say that there was something wrong with his body. Speak. Chapter 931. Mother, what are you thinking? I'm saying that my body is too strong, so if I want to have a child, it'll depend on luck. However, if I have a child, the child's talent will definitely be very strong. His innate body strength will surpass that of demon beasts and spirit beasts. Yi Shan explained. I see. Then you have to go back and accompany them. Look at you. You've been staying here with these children for the past 2 years. You don't care about your 3 wives at home. Yu Qing was very dissatisfied with Night Sorrow's performance in the past 2 years. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Mother. I was busy cultivating and didn't care about everyone's feelings, Night Sorrow said apologetically. Cultivating? Yu Qing looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. Yes, the bottleneck from the Saint Realm to the Saint King Realm is the key to one's state of mind. I have been pursuing this step for the past 2 years and neglected father, mother, and Chu Yu. Night Sorrow nodded and said. I told you not to meddle in the children's affairs. I'm not someone who doesn't know what to do, Yi Wu said. Mother misunderstood you. However, you have to go back with us and Nianxiao today. Mother will cook delicious food for you. Mother will also go into seclusion after a while, Yu Qing said. She had also cultivated to the peak of the Venerable Realm. After Night Sorrow returned to Sky City, the women also came out of seclusion. With the help of the Space-Time Pagoda, everyone's cultivation was very fast. Their cultivation was very solid and they were about to enter the late stage of the Venerable Realm. After the family banquet, while the women cultivated, Night Sorrow sailed the boat across the lake every day or walked around. There was a saying in Sky City that you wouldn't understand the world of commanders because Night Sorrow didn't cultivate every day. People who didn't understand Night Sorrow wouldn't understand how he cultivated his super combat strength. Night Sorrow's main body cultivated his state of mind. His soul avatar often walked around the netherworld, observing the movements of the netherworld and inquiring about the Nine Dark King. As long as the Nine Dark King wanted to make a comeback, he would know. More than 2 years had passed, and the nether realm was like a jar of stagnant water. There was no news of the Nine Nether King. Night Sorrow's soul avatar had also been to the nether abyss, but he had not been able to explore it. The death energy in the netherdark abyss was too dense. Even if Night Sorrow's soul avatar used the power of laws to protect its body, it could not penetrate deeper. Only those of the same attribute could go deeper. This made Night Sorrow certain that this was a good place for death attribute cultivators to cultivate. It was very likely that the Nine Dark King was here. Night Sorrow's soul avatar set up an illusion array. He sat in the illusion array and meditated. He studied the laws and combat skills while monitoring the outside. As long as the Nine Dark Nether King appeared, Night Sorrow would know, and his true body would rush over to kill the Nine Dark Nether King. At this time, the Nine Dark King was sitting on a platform that protruded from a cliff in the Yuming Deep Abyss, cultivating. There was a void Dao stone on her legs, and her soul clone had been destroyed. As she raised her cultivation, she continued to nurture her clone. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. On this day, Night Sorrow, who had returned from the lake, stood by the lake and displayed his spear skills. After the 7-star brilliant moon spear was displayed, every spear had the void extreme point kill. This was the result of his avatar practicing his spear skills. After practicing for a while, Night Sorrow felt very satisfied. He put away the reincarnation spear, took out a jar of wine, and drank by himself. At this time, he had stabilized his cultivation and cultivated his mental state for 7 years. In other words, more than 7 years had passed since the battle with the Nether Realm. After cultivating for 7 years, Night Sorrow's realm had improved a lot. Now, he did not need to be controlled by the laws, and his energy rarely leaked out. In other words, he was not far from entering the Saint King realm. After that, Night Sorrow checked and found that no one was breaking through in seclusion in the space-time pagoda. He shook the pagoda and asked everyone to come out and relax. Up. After the members of the God-slaying squad said goodbye to Night Sorrow, they all left. These 7 years had been 7 years for the God-slaying squad's strength to soar. Other than Ma Shizhuang, Tang Tian, and Chu Ning, the rest of the members of the God-slaying squad were all venerables. With the method of cultivating soul power and cultivating realm that Night Sorrow had imparted to them, and with the assistance of the space-time pagoda, the members of the God-slaying squad naturally cultivated very quickly. After entering the venerable realm, there was no problem in cultivating because the God-slaying squad had the dragon spirit pill. What they needed to do was to stabilize their cultivation and hone it. The steps in the space-time pagoda were the best way to hone their cultivation. Sikong Chuyu and Yang Lei were already high-level venerables. Aoi had also reached the 6th stage. Xueshi had the effect of time acceleration, and her cultivation had increased to the middle stage of the Star Saint realm. Wu Lingfei's cultivation speed was even more terrifying. She was already at the peak of the 6th Star Saint realm. She would be able to enter the high-level Saint realm after stabilizing her cultivation. This was the power of talent. Yi Wuyo had also become a 3-star saint, and Yu Qing had also become a 2-star saint. It could be said that the cultivation of the people around Night Sorrow had undergone earth-shattering changes. Jun Xuanji and Taishu Yen also walked out of the space-time pagoda. Jun Xuanji had begun cultivating in the pagoda 4 years ago, and he was now a 2-star saint. Taishu Yen was a little late. She had only become a saint a year ago. Night Sorrow had recommended this place for her to comprehend the laws. In addition, the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm had also produced a few saints in the past few years. This was mainly because the war had brought some saint crystals to the 9 regions world's camp. Everyone needs to relax. The space-time pagoda will not be open for half a year, Night Sorrow said. Sikong Chuyu came to Night Sorrow's side and said, "It's a good time to relax. You've been carefree for a few years." Night Sorrow said, "Haha, I'll accompany you tomorrow. I'll also go and pay my respects to my father-in-law and mother-in-law." Night Sorrow, what's your situation now? Wu Lingfei also walked over. It's about time. I can try to stabilize myself a little more, Night Sorrow said. He knew what Wu Lingfei was asking. There's no rush. Auntie Fei plans to return to East Snow Mountain to rest for a while. If there's anything, just crush Auntie Fei's messaging crystal, Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that everyone needed to relax. This was also the reason why he had transferred everyone out. "Commander, I'll go to the Netherworld and see if they have any intention of reviving," Jun Xuanji said. This was Jun Xuanji. He had a strong view of the big picture and could think of some things. Night Sorrow looked at Jun Xuanji and Taishu Yen and said, "There's no need to go. My soul avatar is there. Everything is stable. Go back to the profound mysteries realm and take a walk. Also, the first batch of children in the Saint Hall have grown up and their minds have matured. They won't be harmed again. If you want, you can take in a second batch of members. Based on the principle of better to have nothing than to have something substandard." Jun Xuanji and Taishu Yen nodded and left the lake. Night Sorrow knew that he should also make arrangements for Chen Chen's family, especially for that child to walk on the path of cultivation. While the family was eating, Night Sorrow was still thinking and was a little absent-minded. "What are you thinking about?" Yi Wuyo asked. "I'm thinking about whether to send that child to the Saint Hall or to Night Moon." Night Sorrow looked at Yi Wuyo and said, "Speak." Chapter 4. After reading the book, I'll sign in and rub it in. If there's an excavator, I'll give it to you. Chapter 932. They're all good choices. The education conditions of the Saint Church are good, but the teaching methods of our night moon may be more suitable. Yi Wuyo said. Yes, so I don't know how to arrange it. Night Sorrow said. He had been thinking about this problem for a long time. How about this? Let him go to the Saint Church. Night Moon will find a suitable person to guide him and let the Emperor of Xinyue go. Yi Wuyo thought for a moment and said. Hearing Yi Wuyo's words, Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this was the best arrangement. Night Moon was a woman and she had the last patience. What are you two whispering about? Yu Qing asked. Nothing. Yi Wuyo shook his head. This matter was related to his ancestor Yi Qianhua. Yi Wuyo had not told anyone, including his wife. However, he was going to tell Night Moon because the matter of teaching Yi Qianhua had to be done by Night Moon. After dinner, Night Sorrow and Yi Wuyo strolled and talked in the city in the sky. We have to tell the Emperor of Xinyue about this. Yi Wuyo said. I know. Tomorrow, Father will talk to the Emperor of Xinyue. I'll take the Emperor of Xinyue with me. Night Sorrow said. He felt that it was better for Qin Qin to go there himself. That's fine. Otherwise, they might not be willing to let the child out. Yi Wuyo nodded. After resting for a night, Night Sorrow took Night Moon, who already knew the details, to Zhuyuan City and went to Qin Chen's tea house. Qin Chen's family was very familiar with Night Sorrow. The child called Qianhua carried a pot of water to Night Sorrow's side. Night Sorrow asked him to sit on the chair beside him and got up to pour tea. Qin Chen, I'm here today for something. Night Sorrow said directly. First, what's the matter? Qin Chen nodded and sat opposite Night Sorrow and Night Moon. This is the Emperor of Night Moon's dynasty, Xinyue. He's an invincible venerable. I invited the Emperor of Xinyue to guide Qianhua's cultivation. Night Sorrow introduced Night Moon to Qin Chen. Qin Chen greets the Emperor of Xinyue. Qin Chen stood up and cupped his fists to Night Moon. Yi Xinyu nodded and looked at the child next to Yi Shang. There were even tears in her eyes because her ancestors' past had been too tragic. Can I say no? Qin Chen said with a smile. He knew that Yi Shang had already arranged everything. He just needed to inform him. I really can't do that. I'll make some arrangements for you in Dongxian City. If you like being a tea house owner, you can continue to be one with your wife. Qianhua and the Divine Moon Emperor will go to the Sacred Hall to cultivate and will return home often. He will have a great future, Yi Shang said. Qin Chen nodded. I believe you. You can arrange it. Qin Chen knew Night Sorrow well. In addition, Night Sorrow often came over in the past few years. He knew that Night Sorrow was really good to the child. Then Night Sorrow went to Dongxian City and bought a tea house near the Saint Temple. Then, he teleported to Zhuyuan City again and brought Qin Qin and his wife, as well as Night Moon and the child, to the new tea house. The tea here is warm. It seems that you just bought it. Qin Chen looked at the teapot on the table and said. In the future, I won't pay for the tea when I come here. Things have been arranged, so I won't care. If you need anything, go to the Saint Temple and say that you want to see me. Someone will inform me. Night Sorrow said. Night Moon said goodbye to Qin Qin and his wife, then took the child and left with Night Sorrow. So this is the commander of the two worlds. He looks like an ordinary person, Qin Chen's wife said. Just like an ordinary person. Don't provoke his reverse scale. Countless experts from the profound mysteries realm and the nether realm have died at his hands. When you see his ruthless side, you won't say that he's like an ordinary person, Qin Qin said. After taking Night Moon and the child to the Saint Temple and making arrangements, Night Sorrow returned to the city in the sky. After saying goodbye to his parents and wife, Night Sorrow continued to sail the boat across the lake. His realm had already reached the threshold of returning to one's origin. As long as it stabilized, he would be able to touch the threshold of the Saint King realm. This advancement was the most time-consuming for Night Sorrow. In the past, the unity of heaven and man when he entered the Exalt realm and the energy of the laws when he entered the Saint realm hadn't stopped him, but it had consumed a few years of his time this time. Although it had taken some time, Night Sorrow was still very satisfied. This was because countless people had been stuck at this bottleneck. For 10,000 years, not a single Saint King had appeared, which showed how difficult it was. If one could reach the realm of returning to one's origin, then they would be there. If one could not reach it, then they would be stuck forever. Long Xianxing, Tianming's saint, Xian Wenxiu, and Shang Luo were examples. Even 10,000 years ago, before the 9 regions world was destroyed, there were many saints, but only 3 Saint Kings had appeared. The Clear Sky Saint King had reincarnated several times and had cultivation experience. After relaxing in the lake for more than half a month, Night Sorrow returned to the 10th floor of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. After cultivating for 2 days, Night Sorrow decided to break through to the Saint King realm. He did not tell anyone, mainly because he did not want anyone to worry. Night Sorrow circulated the energy in his body, first stabilizing his emotions and true qi. After stabilizing for half a day, Night Sorrow began to inject the true qi in his dantian into the dan bead, bit by bit. Fortunately, it was gaseous true qi. No matter how condensed it was still gaseous and very gentle. Night Sorrow instilled it bit by bit, and time passed by. He was very careful because this was too important, and there was no room for carelessness. His 2 soul avatars had closed their spiritual consciousness, for fear of being affected and affecting the breakthrough of his main body. The avatar's cultivation would always improve with the main body, which meant that the avatar's cultivation could not be higher than the main body, and the realm was the same. Night Sorrow's avatar in the heaven-sealing Great Hall was full of flesh and blood essence, but it was still an avatar. Only when the main body did not exist, that was to say, when the main body died, it could act as the main body. When the main body existed, it was a subsidiary, even if it merged with the heaven-sealing Great Hall. This was the rule of the heavenly Tao. The avatar could not comprehend the realm, but it could study battle skills for the main body and study the shortcomings of battle skills. As the true qi in Night Sorrow's dantian decreased, Night Sorrow's dan bead also changed. It was as if it could not bear the true qi, and spiderweb-like cracks appeared. At other times, cracks appeared on the dan bead, which was a sign of the destruction of one's cultivation, but this was not the case for Night Sorrow. This was an inevitable phenomenon during a breakthrough. If one's realm was not enough, it would be useless to inject true qi into the dan bead, and the dan bead would not break out of its cocoon and condense into a dan nascent soul. When all the true qi in Night Sorrow's dantian entered the dan bead naturally cracked, like a lotus blooming. As Night Sorrow's dan bead cracked, a baby appeared in his dantian. The baby's face was exactly the same as Night Sorrow's, but it was much smaller. It was the dan nascent soul unique to the Saint King realm. At the same time that Night Sorrow's dan nascent soul was formed, a large number of tribulation clouds appeared in the sky above the city in the sky. The tribulation clouds were much larger than Night Sorrow's previous thunder tribulations, and they shrouded the entire city in the sky. This made Tai Shu Yen and Jun Xuanji, who had returned to the city in the sky after half a year, very shocked. Long Xianxing and other peak saints who were meditating in the city in the sky also woke up from their meditation, not understanding what had happened. Speaking. Chapter 933. At this time, Night Sorrow's 3 fiancés and Xueshi were all looking at the sky. The tribulation clouds had come too suddenly and too violently. The rolling tribulation clouds had already covered the entire sky city and even the lake beside it. Senior Long Xianxing, what's going on? Taishu Yan looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky and asked. If I'm not wrong, it's attracted by the commander. Long Xianxing flashed to the edge of the cliff and said while looking at the space-time pagoda beside the lake. How could it be attracted by the commander? Could it be? Jun Xuanji's face changed at this point. Yes, the Saint's thunder tribulation is not so terrifying and the area it covers is not so big. Xian Wenxiu nodded at Jun Xuanji. He naturally knew what Jun Xuanji was thinking. At this time, the cultivators of Sky City had all reached the edge of the cliff. At this time, Night Sorrow had also been reminded by Shao Kong that the tribulation clouds had arrived. His body flashed out of the space-time pagoda. Night Sorrow waved his left sleeve and flew away with the shrunken space-time pagoda. He could not destroy this place. Sky City was his home. The Saint King realm is indeed true. The commander is going against the heavens. Shang Luo said. After Night Sorrow appeared, the peak saints could naturally see his cultivation. Night Sorrow's speed had reached the extreme. His body flashed and he was several miles away. As Night Sorrow moved, the tribulation clouds in the sky also moved. The people of Sky City also followed behind. Everyone was worried about Night Sorrow's safety and did not want to miss such a scene. After flying for 100 miles, Night Sorrow stopped in an open area. Then, he stretched out his right hand and held the reincarnation spear in his hand. He then smiled and nodded at Sikong Chuyu and the others, waiting for the arrival of the tribulation clouds. With a loud explosion, the tribulation clouds parted and a purple-black lightning struck down at Night Sorrow. At this time, Night Sorrow's space energy crescent slash appeared behind him, directly cutting the area in front of the lightning tribulation. He wanted to use space turbulence to block the descent of the lightning tribulation. The power of the lightning was terrifying, much stronger than that of a saint's thunder tribulation. However, Night Sorrow's cultivation level had also increased. The crescent moon slash, which carried the law of space, directly cut a wide crack in space. The power of the lightning that passed through the spatial rift was reduced by a third. Following that, Night Sorrow unleashed a second spatial tier, followed by rule suppression. The first lightning tribulation disappeared when it reached Night Sorrow's head. Then came the second lightning tribulation. Night Sorrow used the same method. If he could save energy, he would naturally think of ways to save energy. He had just advanced and his true chi was not stable, so he was not suitable for a hard battle. When the third lightning tribulation descended, Night Sorrow used the myriad Tao Tome's power of desolation. As he retreated, he continuously attacked with his spear, destroying the lightning with over 20 spears. However, Night Sorrow also tasted the power of the Saint King Thunder Tribulation. The myriad Tao Tome's energy could not isolate it, and his hands were numb from the bombardment. Shaking his shoulders, Night Sorrow warmed up his hands. He did not even activate his protective chi cover, yet he withstood 3 lightning tribulations. This is really heaven-defying. My saint's thunder tribulation almost killed him. Taishu Yan muttered to herself. Taishu Yan's words caused many saints to feel the same way. The lightning tribulation was indeed fatal. Even if one withstood it, they would be covered in injuries. At this time, the fourth lightning tribulation had already descended, and its power was much stronger than the previous 3. However, Night Sorrow did not mind. He had several types of energy in his body, so withstanding the lightning tribulation should not be a problem. With the myriad Tao Tome's energy protecting him, Night Sorrow continued to fly out of the spear and face the lightning attacks. He fought with the lightning until it disappeared. Night Sorrow also gasped for breath. The lightning was too strong, and it had directly consumed half of the myriad Tao Tome's energy. Looking up at the sky, Night Sorrow shook his right arm to relieve the numbness. At this time, the fifth lightning tribulation struck again. Night Sorrow first released a spatial crack, then flew up and faced the lightning with his spear. The myriad Tau Tomes energy, which had the effect of time acceleration, was constantly annihilating the lightning energy. When the myriad Tau Tomes energy in Night Sorrow's body was almost depleted, the fifth lightning tribulation also dissipated. At this time, Night Sorrow also controlled his true chi and began to quickly circulate it, because the lightning tribulation had not yet dissipated. These few lightning tribulations can easily kill a saint, Long Xianqing said. At this time, the sixth lightning tribulation struck again. Night Sorrow waved his left hand and threw the space-time pagoda toward the sixth lightning tribulation. The space-time pagoda was extremely powerful at this time. It was fixed in the air and withstood the lightning strikes. The lightning tribulation was withstood by the space-time pagoda until it dissipated. As the commander's cultivation increases, the space-time pagoda's power is also getting stronger, Heavenly Underworld Saint muttered. After the sixth lightning tribulation dissipated, the lightning tribulation clouds in the sky were still rolling. Look at the text. Edition P above chapter. As the lightning tribulation clouds rolled, muffled sounds of thunder could be heard continuously. The seventh lightning tribulation was still brewing. Why is it not over yet? Yang Lei was a little anxious. Although Night Sorrow had withstood the first few lightning tribulations easily, as long as the lightning tribulation clouds did not dissipate, she was incomparably worried. The lightning tribulation is an odd number. Usually, there will be 3 lightning tribulations, and then there will be 5 or 7 lightning tribulations. There are no records of it in the ancient books, but it is normal for it to appear on the commander, Long Xianqing said. Following an explosion, a lightning tribulation as thick as a bucket appeared. However, the lightning tribulation clouds also dissipated. This meant that this was the last lightning tribulation. If he withstood it, he would have taken a step forward. If not, he would not be annihilated. Seeing that it was the last lightning tribulation, Night Sorrow kept the space-time pagoda and stabbed the reincarnation spear in his right hand into the ground, waiting for the lightning tribulation to arrive. The purple-black lightning tribulation directly fell on Night Sorrow's body and began to destroy Night Sorrow's body. However, Night Sorrow's body at this time, his flesh, bones, and internal organs were all made up of energy. When they were destroyed, the energy would recover. The powerful lightning tribulation once again annihilated the impurities in Night Sorrow's almost perfect body, helping him to strengthen his body once again. Without Night Sorrow's resistance, the lightning tribulation and Night Sorrow lasted for a quarter of an hour before dissipating. After Night Sorrow took a robe and put it on, he looked up to the sky and roared. The lightning tribulation had passed, and he had officially become a Saint King cultivator. Long Xianqing took the lead, and everyone clapped their hands to celebrate Night Sorrow and the 9 regions world. Because after 10,000 years, the 9 regions world had once again produced a Saint King. Holding the wine jar and drinking 2 mouthfuls of wine, Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate, stabilizing his newly advanced cultivation. The Netherworld realm and the 9 Dark King will not be able to cause any more waves. They are no longer a threat to the 9 regions world. Long Xianqing said. The 9 Dark King was waiting for the commander to be stuck at a bottleneck, while she has room for improvement. Now, the commander is also at the same level, but there is a huge gap in their combat power. She will always be suppressed. Xian Wenxiu nodded. He was very envious of Night Sorrow. He had entered the Saint King realm at such a young age, while he had cultivated for thousands of years. Inform everyone that this is a joyous occasion. Both worlds should celebrate. Long Xianqing said. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.